Well, because I was thinking because I don't this is my first I'm going back on YouTube. I've had this program for a while, and I haven't had the chance to use it. And when I saw you, doing a podcast, I'm like, "Oh, I'll ask Joyce," and I know she's not in Stoneham, so I'll get to use the video thing, so this is pretty cool. And I don't have the last time I was on YouTube, I didn't have the ability to or I didn't know how to add I have an intro music for my audio, but
Mhm.
I didn't have one for the video because I didn't know how to do it, I didn't really care either, so basically, I just started talking and hit the button smoothly, so there's words immediately, there's no big pause for music, so anyways, Joyce Connery, thank you for coming on the show. I noticed that um, you did a is it your podcast or were you a guest on the podcast for the Women's Day?
I was
What
yes.
month? You were a
Yeah.
guest, and when is Women's Month? March
Yeah,
or
it's about
April?
March. Yeah. We get
Okay, so
31
you
days.
would 30 that's right. You deserve 31 days, that's fine. Baskin-Robbins has 31 flavors, you get 31 days, that's perfect. Um, and did you know this person? Did she reach out to you?
Yeah, so, Andrea Bailey was the woman who was doing the podcast. She's, one of our board of county supervisors, which I guess would be equivalent to, like, your board of selectmen in Stoneham. So, we have a county system here in Virginia. So, our county is very big. We're, like, the 2nd largest county in Virginia, if not the 1st. And so, Andrea is one of the, board of county supervisors, and I've, known her for a number of years, and she is, politically active in the community, and, so she reached out to a number of people, and I think she probably did a series of podcasts, and so she asked if I would come on and, talk about women stuff.
Nice, nice, excellent. And what is women stuff? Because your version is probably different than my version of women stuff.
Well, I think she wanted to specifically talk about, kind of women in the career force, barriers that we may encounter during our experiences, both just as women in the community, mothers, sisters, friends, political figures in our careers. So I think she was looking to have that conversation about how to be inspired and inspiring.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And without giving away too much, excuse me, what do you find most inspiring?
So I think that, you know, women do a lot of work in the community that doesn't get recognized or seen. Obviously, we do a lot of work in the home. I'm not denigrating the dads or the brothers out there, but I always joke about the fact when Christmas time comes, if you ask a couple like what's under the Christmas tree, the women will be able to tell you, and the men are like presents. Like they don't know until the morning of Christmas, like what's in there.
That's fair. That's
So,
fair.
women are doing a lot of that scheduling, that work, while a lot of times having, careers or jobs that, help meet the moment in the economy because, a lot of people can't raise a family on a single income, household, so women are working as well. I've been working since, I don't know, I was, like, 13 and in Stoneham,
Wow.
so I've always been in the workforce, but whether you're in the workforce or staying at home, like, there's just a number of challenges. Childcare is expensive if you need to have childcare. Um, there's healthcare is super expensive these days, and a lot of times women in the workforce face other challenges such as, thoughts about how she got to the position she's in, whether or not she got it through merit or, through other means, I'm not trying to be crude here, but
No, 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 go right ahead.
but also, just was she selected because she's a woman and they were looking for a diversity candidate? So there's a lot of,
Did you
challenges.
check a box, basically?
Did you check a box? Right, exactly. And then, when you're there, I think we tend to be a little bit less forceful about our capabilities in the workforce and maybe take more of a back seat. And so it's harder to progress because of attitudes, longstanding about women's capabilities and how they fit into.
Okay, now I did another a deep dive. I see you post anyways on Facebook, so I didn't really have to search. And, you are pretty heavily into politics, am I right?
Yeah, I have been involved in the community for, the whole time that I've been in Virginia. I was a civil servant for a very long time in the federal government, and so I wasn't very vocal about my politics, and in 2015, I became a political appointee, so I could be a little bit more vocal about things happening. It's less about politics and more about um, uplifting people in the community for me. But the way you do that is a lot of times through the votes that you make and the decisions that you make with regards to the politics in the area.
And you recently excuse me, you recently retired from something. I didn't really know what you retired from. What is it that you retired from?
Ooh, I retired from the federal government after
'Cause you're not old enough to retire, I don't believe. Officially.
So I had been in the federal government for over 20 years, and because of the position I was in, I was term limited. I was the chair of the Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board, which is a small government agency. And as such, I served a term, so I was presidentially appointed, Senate confirmed, and I was able to serve since 2015. So my term ended in October, but it's a long story, but to save quorum, I was able to continue on. But after the election, I just thought it would be better for the organization if I stepped down. So I was the chair, my vice chair was a Republican, and I thought it'd be better for the organization if I stepped down and he took my place. So because of my years in service and they were able to retire me even though I didn't quite meet the age limit of normal
Yes,
retirees.
yes. So you decided, "I've kicked enough ass, it's time to let someone else have it."
Yeah, something like that, something like that. Get on to
Fair enough.
different things.
Yes, yes, and what are you looking forward to doing now?
So, I'm not very good at retirement, I've discovered. So I'm very, like I said, active in the community. I sit on a few boards, the Hilton Center for the Performing Arts here in the community, which is a community arts theater. I also sit on the board of Hope Link Behavioral Health, which provides 988 services for folks who are in mental crisis. I do some other activities in the community, and I just started my own consulting business.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
What's it called?
What is it called? Connery Strategies.
I should have told you I would ask that, I'm sorry.
No, no, it's
Be
because
prepared.
I was toying with a number of different names. So, and you have to look up to see that nobody else is using that name. Connery's not that
Right.
uh, prevalent of a name, but Connery Consultants was already taken, so I had to.
Wow. Wow. That's quite impressive. Oh, sorry, that was bad. That was my Sean Connery, sorry.
I saw that. I heard
Ugh. Is there a that's a cat behind you or a dog?
that is my cat. I don't know which one. That's my cat, Belka.
Felka?
Belka with a B.
Oh, Belka.
Belka. Mhm.
Isn't that like a brand or something?
It is the Russian word for squirrel. So that's
So it's a brand of squirrels then. I could have sworn I might be thinking of Belcan, Belkan.
yeah. So
I don't know what I'm thinking about.
yeah. So she has squirrel-like tendencies. So I named her after the Russian word for squirrel.
Wow, you just mentioned that you went to the gym. You just got you and you said it was a bad idea, but I disagree. But, um, are you going to the gym more now that you're retired, or have you been doing it all along?
I've been doing it all along. Actually, so I used to take a 5 a.m. class. I just have
Oh,
shifted. So I took the 7:30 class this morning. That is my concession to retirement. But
like late afternoon.
I can't sleep if I exercise in the afternoon. I don't know how you do it. Like it keeps me awake. So I try to do it early in the morning before I'm awake enough to realize that I'm exercising.
So you don't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. And then halfway through it, I'm like, oh, I'm in the gym. What am I doing?
"Hey, how'd I get here?
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
what's" Now do you do the headphones and everything? Do you
So no, I do Orange Theory because I wouldn't know else to do in the gym, so they tell you what to do. They're like, "Lift that
Oh,
thing, run this far, row
pick
it."
it up and put it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice, nice.
Otherwise, I don't think I would ever touch any of the dumbbells.
Well, that's fair, that's fair. Are you curling? What are you doing?
Everything, curling, lunging, squatting,
Nice, nice.
overhead.
All the good lunging and squatting, sure, why not?
Yeah,
Well, look at you. That's
yeah.
awesome. Now you said you're in Virginia. Now, when did you 'cause I went to school with you for 3 years anyways.
Mhm.
I think you were a grade ahead of me.
I was 88.
Yes, I was 89. And, where did you go from after 88? To from 88?
So I went to, Tufts University, so I didn't go very far, and did my undergrad, at Tufts, and then, and I did a study abroad program the last year I was there in, Russia, And then
Nice.
I came back, for a little bit and then went to the Peace Corps in Turkmenistan, was there for 2.5 years,
Mm,
came back to
wow.
Medford because I always come back to Boston, and did my master's at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, and then went back overseas for a couple of years before I came back to Virginia.
Now was that a culture shock to you? Do you have ancestors there? Is there a reason you went to Russia? I mean,
Peter Friel, do you remember him? That
Mr. Friel, yes, so he was a teacher. Was he science or
No,
was
he's social
he
studies, and he
social
taught
studies?
Russian history,
Oh, that ri okay, makes sense.
and in '87, he took a bunch of us to Russia in February. It was the Soviet Union at the time, and I just fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the language, and so I did Russian studies when I was at Tufts, and so I did the study abroad program. It was a interesting time to do it because it was '91, which is right when the coup happened. So I got there right after the coup. I joked that I landed in Leningrad, and then I left from St. Petersburg because the
Oh,
changeover happened while while I was there. So, and then, when I came back, and I always wanted to do the Peace Corps, and they were going to send me to Latin America, which would have been lovely. But then they called up one day and said, "Hey, we have this Peace Corps opportunity in Turkmenistan. We've never sent a group there before. We know you have a background in Russian language. Would you like to be part of the first group of Peace Corps volunteers to go to Turkmenistan? And have you ever heard of it?" And I'm like, because I'm a nerd. "Oh yeah,
have you read you had?
Ashkelon. Yeah, of course I've heard of it."
That's the first that's the first time I've ever heard of it. So you have heard of it. You were willingly volunteering, and was it everything you'd hoped it would be?
It was it was hard. It's a very difficult culture. It's a very isolated country. They don't have Peace Corps volunteers now. They're kind of like Central Asian North Korea, right, in terms of isolation. So, their president was, very much a dictator type, talked about the golden age of Turkmenistan and had a statue built to himself in the middle of the city. Yeah, it was a rough couple of years,
Really?
but it was fascinating, and I loved it, and, I learned a ton about everything, a ton about the Russian culture, that was imposed on the Turkmen culture. I learned a lot about kind of like pipeline politics because there's a lot of gas in Turkmenistan, and more importantly, I learned a lot about myself and how I fared in that environment, so far away from home. This is before we had access to internet on a regular basis, so we were writing letters back and forth. This is like '93 to '95. Um, so
In cursive?
in cursive, yes. Yeah. I don't think that, do they still teach that?
I don't think so. They can't even tell time, so why are they gonna teach cursive handwriting?
True, too true.
What did you learn about yourself?
Um, I learned that I could endure a lot more than I thought I could, and, I'm a very social person, so it was a little bit, isolating, although I had to I made friends within the culture because there weren't that many Americans around. Um, so that was interesting, and they had such a weird view of Americans. The only 2 television shows they got were Santa Barbara and Twin Peaks.
Wow.
Now, yeah, now think about, like, how weird an impression you would have of somebody if they came in, and the first couple of months I lived with a host family, uh, who's since, immigrated to Israel, and, we're in a very small apartment. The parents had, 'cause the rule is you have to have your own bedroom, so the parents, like, moved into the living room so I could have my own bedroom because they lived in an apartment, and, yeah, you learn to live on a lot less because they don't really, you live on the economy. And because the break of the Soviet Union had just happened and Turkmenistan doesn't have, its neighbors are Afghanistan, Iran, and Uzbekistan. So it's not like they're very close to any kind of markets. So they had a lot of, difficulties finding products. We have run rations to go to the market and get our hunk of meat that we would then have to cut, and I didn't have running hot water, so it was
How old were you at this point?
it was right
Ballpark.
after college, so it was, 23?
Were you scared out of your mind?
Some days was pretty scary. We lost electricity for 4 days, and that's actually how it was heated, and it's a pretty warm country, but in the winter, it gets super cold. So I remember,
Sure. I saw Rocky IV, I know.
so I just never, I didn't have electricity for 4 days, I didn't have heat for 4 days, so I, slept in all of my clothes under the mattress to stay warm. But you learn to
Wow.
to ask for help. I think that was the other thing that it helped me learn. I'm still not very good about it, but, I went to my friends who lived in the area, my local friends and said, "Hey, I don't have any I don't have any way to heat water up and probably need a shower. Can I can I borrow your shower?"
Please do.
Yeah.
No, but that's amazing, and so you came back and then you went to did you say Iran you went to?
No, no, I went to the Fletcher School for graduate school, and then, the Department of Energy hired me to go to Kazakhstan, which is same region, closer to China. And it's a very big country. It spans, a number of time zones, all the way from the Caspian Sea to China. Sits, underneath Russia, kinda, tucked up under there.
So Mr. Friel got you to want to do this. Was he your favorite teacher in high school?
I
Be
liked Mr.
honest.
Friel. I loved, do you remember Miss Norelli?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss
I
Norelli
don't
was
think I
lovely.
yes, I do actually.
Yeah, so she was great. She's my English teacher, and she was fantastic. Mr. Reed, who did creative writing for a short period of time, I took one class with him. He was a great we had a lot of fantastic teachers, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember my favorite teacher. I always default to Mr. A, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He in history, I hated the most. I wasn't a big fan of history, and I can't explain why. I'd rather do but I was really good at math, which makes no sense
Mhm.
because I don't like math either. But, um, yeah, I don't know. I just Mr. A as a person, as a teacher was, in my opinion, phenomenal. Did you ever have a chance
I
to
did.
whether it be junior high or high school?
I think I had him I wanna say 8th grade. Was that 8th grade? Did he teach 8th grade social studies or ninth grade?
Uh, he did the junior high first, and then he came he definitely did ninth because I think I had him in ninth
Okay.
grade.
Yeah, I don't
S
kinda
for
recall when. It's all a blur.
right, it really is.
Oh, it
It
was
really
over
is.
20
Did
years
you
ago,
do
right?
any um, he well, for me, it's no, it's not. It's 26 for you, 25 for
I think
me.
it's longer than that.
No, is
Yeah.
it? Oh my god, it is. It's 45,
Yeah.
isn't it? And 46.
Mhm.
Wow. See, I was so good at math. That's
Yeah,
how good at math I
exactly.
am.
We're
I
just gonna
just
say
bragged
it's
about
20
that.
I like your answer better.
I honestly thought it was like, I have no concept of time. That's what gets me is I 'cause I look at you and I'm like, "You retired?" I know you're not a qualified age-wise, but I mean, it's just weird to see, I was talking about I could be a grandfather at this point in my life because 50 doesn't look like 50 does when we were growing up. I saw a 50-year-old, I'm like, "Whoa," like, you're thinking Cocoon, you're thinking, Wilford Brimley with the you just, it's insane, and now I'm looking at other people who are, like, 55, and I'm thinking, "You guys should be" I had you guys dead when I was a kid. I told my mother once she'd be dead at 40. That's how I thought 40 was. I
Yeah,
really
I
did.
keep saying I'm
And she
middle
rubbed
aged,
she
and they're like, "Are you gonna live to be 108?" I'm
Yeah,
like,
right.
"Maybe."
Maybe you could, right? If anyone could, keep going to that gym, and you've got to Russia for training. I mean,
Yeah, that didn't do my liver
you
any
like Ru
favors, I'll tell you that much.
what were you drinking out there?
And there was a lot of vodka
Over there?
consumption.
Is that all you could drink?
Yeah, I mean, you could drink water. They had beer too. Their beer's actually pretty good, very strong.
Did they laugh at you though? If you order a beer or water, they go, "Ha, ha, ha,
No, so they gave so
Americans."
women were treated a little bit differently, so I could get a pass, but I was like,
Ah,
I'm macho, like, I can I can keep up with you, so
did you?
yeah, sometimes.
Nice. Look at you. Sometimes. Tell me the best time you had at a Russian bar, pub, tavern, whatever they have over there.
So it was more house parties, like, it was less about that.
Can play?
Mhm.
Can play?
You play?
Can you hear the train, by the way? Can you hear
No?
that? Oh, I have trains in the back. They go. Kid and play house party. Never mind. I was a stupid
Oh, it's
joke.
alright. Um,
Tell me about the house party.
so I think So I was over there for, I was in Kazakhstan for, like, I think it was my 30th birthday, one of my birthdays. Maybe it wasn't that. Yeah, I don't remember what year it was, but I was over there for my birthday, and, it must have been before that, and I threw, because you're supposed to throw your birthday party, and their tradition is you throw the birthday party, so I threw, like, a a blowout birthday party, and, like, everybody was drinking, and there was, music and dancing and food, and, it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun, and that so
Great.
and I actually went to Kazakhstan with my fiancé at the time, who had never been out of he's from Massachusetts. He had never been out of the country before, and I got this job in Kazakhstan. I'm like, "Come with me, you'll figure it out," kinda thing. He didn't speak Russian, um, and he had a rough time. He and that night, in particular, I remember him getting into a drinking contest with somebody like twice the size of him, and I was like, I don't think you should be you should be drinking with this guy."
I mean
Um,
aim high, but not too high.
yeah, and it's funny because we ended up, splitting up, and he stayed in country. He didn't speak any Russian. He got a job. He was a computer guy, so he got a job in kind of computer networking and stuff, and then I left 2 years later. I left right around 9/11, and he stayed and ended up marrying a Kazakh
Really?
girl. Yeah,
Wow.
for a number of years. They returned to the United States. They actually live here in the area now, but his mom
So
kinda never forgave me.
he never forgave you,
"You took my
especially
son!"
well, yeah, then he left him in Russia, and he brings back a Russian
Yeah,
girl. Wow. It's the American dream.
yeah.
Now you're married now, apparently, right? Oh, I shouldn't assume you are.
No, so
Are you married now?
divorced. I'm divorced. Yeah.
Divorced. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought never mind.
That's okay. Happens.
Yeah, no, I see someone congratulating you a lot and stuff, so I figured you were married. I just assumed you were.
Oh, no, that's probably the gentleman that I'm dating now.
Fair enough. We can leave it at that. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. Dating
That's
after
awesome.
50 is also very challenging, I'm sure.
Yeah, in what ways?
Uh, it's hard to meet people. It's kinda like the joke is that, like, going to the supermarket and all the carts have the broken wheel, so because 'cause they've been used a lot. So, kind of
Nice.
like that
Nice.
analogy,
Okay.
is, internet dating, which wasn't something that we grew up with, um, and
Right.
now kind of you're sorting through, you know, seeing pictures of older, like you said, they're over 50 now, holding a fish or whatever, and you're like, "Hmm, yay, this is what's out here."
Wee! I hope to be a trout someday. That's did you have a hard time meeting this gentleman?
It took a bit, but yeah, we met on, Facebook dating, as a matter of fact, so,
Oh,
yeah.
really? Oh, no kidding.
I tried the,
I
Match.com, and there's actually one out there called Our Time for older people. I do not recommend it.
how old were they?
Some of them were fairly old, which is fine, like, and age is about how you treat yourself, how you treat, the world around you, and what your expectations are, but, uh, yeah, it was probably not the demographic that I should have been.
That's fair. That's fair. Now what did you think about Match.com?
Match was pretty good, but again, you see a lot of these people on the same dating sites. I don't know if any of your listeners are, in the dating scene, but, it's I had been married for 19 years, and so it was a huge shock when my husband's like, "Are you happy?" I'm like, "I could use more wine, but I'm doing pretty good." He's like, "No, no, I mean, like, I
Oh,
don't think I wanna do this for the rest of my life." It's like, "What do what precisely?" Apparently,
apparently he doesn't wanna do you for the rest of
right,
his
right.
life.
Yeah,
Take that any way you want
right.
it.
It's like he Marie Kondoed and like, "Oh, you don't bring me joy anymore, so bye-bye,"
Wow.
but it's I mean
Did you see it coming?
hmm?
Did you see it coming?
Not really, no, and it was post-COVID. I mean, I kind of should have. He started a new career. He went back to law school. He lost a lot of weight, got in shape, and And I just think he was looking for something different, and I don't see it as a failed marriage. Like, we had 19 good years. He had 3 children that we raised, right? They lived with us. We successfully raised 3 kids and 2 cats at the time, and, um, it just he wasn't happy, so not going to make somebody stay who's not happy in the relationship. So,
No, that makes perfect
yeah.
sense.
And we was very amicable. We decided how to split things up, and 6 months later, we were and $80 because that's what it cost to do it. We were done.
That's what it costs to get divorced is $80?
Well, not for most people, because most people are get lawyers and fight the we just
Oh, because you guys did it
and
yourself.
we
It
just
just
decided, like, this is how we're gonna do it. This is what we're gonna how we're gonna split things. It was fairly easy because we both had, separate careers and stuff, and so we just split everything. It wasn't that, like, I was staying home with the kids and he owed me, for that, but
wow. Huh. Looks like you did okay, though.
yeah.
Did you do the engross yourself in your work type of thing, where just you work
Yeah,
all the
I
time?
mean, I was sad for a bit. Work has always been something that I've been very focused on, so that I was able to do that. It was after COVID, so I was able to, I leaned on friends, and just decided to do something else.
Wow,
And then
look at
did the
you.
dating thing, which was, a challenge, because like I said, I hadn't been out in dating in, God, a long time. So
Over 20 years, I would imagine.
and so the just everything from, you know, dressing up to going out on a date, having that first conversation, like, having to tell your story over and over again, and, you know, and then, like
DWF enjoys, whatever you enjoy. Russia.
yeah,
Vodka.
yeah. Yeah. And then yeah, and then people bring their best selves to the first date, and then, date number 2 might not be is great. So I met some cool people.
Yeah.
I had my share of interesting experiences. Nothing too
Have you
crazy.
become friends with any of them?
Yeah, a couple I still, reach out to every now and then. But mostly
See you
yeah,
later.
mostly because they were looking, they're looking for a relationship.
No, looking for
Yeah,
friends.
yeah. Um, and people who are looking for other things go on Tinder, right?
Yeah, I get I I've I swear to you, I've never seen Tinder. It's you literally
Right.
just
Yeah.
swipe left and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
I
just,
didn't use the
just,
app, but
no, that's fair, I believe you.
but,
I believe it, but that's what it is, right? Like, that's just a hookup thing, isn't it?
it can be. I mean, I've known people who've met partners that way as well, but, I think
Oh.
it just depends. I think you can just say what it is you're looking for. People are very blunt about it, like, looking for a hookup or, looking to meet somebody, and then, yeah, you have to judge the veracity of what it is they're actually looking for.
I'd be afraid to do it, to be honest. I really would.
Do you
I'm
you're married, I'm assuming, or
I'm
okay, so you're
married,
not
yeah.
dating.
But I did meet her on, um, eHarmony,
Oh,
though.
you did? Okay. So
Yeah,
that's the one
yeah.
you have, like, this huge questionnaire?
Yeah, I started as honestly, and she knows this, I started doing it as a joke 'cause I wasn't really but and then it took so long, I'm like, "I am finishing this, and I'm gonna do it." I became determined to finish it because it was, like, not this wasn't like, "What's your favorite color? What's your favorite subject in school? Alright, you're off." It's like, there was, like, a gazillion questions, and I'm like, "When is this gonna end? Now I can't just stop now, I'm gonna finish it." And, I guess that was a
So
good
the
thing.
algorithm worked. The
What's that?
algorithm worked to
Yeah, yeah, it did, it was funny, and she was on her I was her last chance. Like, she's like, because her and her friend Peg, who actually lives in I think she lives in Virginia as well, she's like, "Alright, one more and that's it, then you're done, whatever, I'm trying one more time," and it was and Peg I think Peg chose me. Her friend
so
chose me
it was her
to go
last
yeah.
time and your first time?
It was my yeah, yeah, like, it was, yeah, she's like, "I'm doing this one more time, and that's then I'm done with it forever," basically is what it was. She was giving it one more chance,
Well, she was right.
and it was yeah, for the most part. And, no, I had went on a couple, but it was very early on because I was like, "This is stupid." I just thought it was stupid, I really did. I was never a fan of online dating, I don't know why.
It's hard to meet
I
people IRL,
I
right?
know, I get it, I just ca IRL, I don't know, it's just something I guess I judged it, I didn't really I didn't try anything else other than eHarmony. I did that because I saw a commercial. I'm like, "Alright, I'll see how this guy thinks he can do everything." It was one of those challenges things. I was just, like, betting on it pretty much. But, yeah, like, I never did Match.com or anything else like that. That's why I don't know much about that stuff.
Yeah, like I said, I was looking to kind of get back into the game after being married, and I knew I didn't wanna look into my industry. Didn't seem like a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
And also
No, but
where, I was ahead of an organization, so I couldn't find anybody to work because of they all worked for me. So, like, you just gotta
right.
you don't date
You'd be Demi Moore in, what was that movie she did? Demi Moore, where she was, accused of sexual harassment. Do you know what I'm talking about? Which, first of all, is a farce because who's gonna cry when Demi Moore is coming
That's
on
true.
to you? That's ridiculous. The premise right there alone should be shot down. But she did a I f you know the movie I'm talking about, though?
I don't. I don't.
No? Well, if you start talking about something, I'll IMDb it real
Okay.
quick. Um, Usually I would do this if you can't see me, but now I'm on camera doing it, so I can't do it. But, yeah, no, it was actually a pretty good movie, but it was just
Okay.
you gotta get someone who's not Demi Moore because nobody in their right mind is gonna be like, excuse me, police, can you please, have a problem here." You were in Well, I wanted to ask about your time at Stone. Well, because you and I went to Stone like high school together, of course. We traveled in different circles, but what were some of the things you enjoyed most about Stoneham High School?
Um, so
If you can remember back 46 years ago.
so I'm still in touch with I had, several of my closest friends from high school I'm still in touch with, including, I don't remember if Janet Marigolio and Chris McGrew. So we still hang out together when we see each other. Brian Lake and I see occasionally, but Chris and Janet and I keep in touch, and I know their family. So I would say, because again, I raised three-step kids here in Virginia, and their graduating classes were like 1,000 people. Ours were like 100. And so,
Right.
like, looking back on it, we were so very lucky because we knew everybody. Like, you sat with them in homeroom. Even if you weren't in all their classes, you sat with them in homeroom, or you were in art with them, or, some of the specials or what have you. You knew you knew everybody who was on the hockey team. Um, my kids just didn't experience that because it was just way too big. So I love the fact that it was a small community. I mean, that had its pluses and its minuses as well because everybody knew your business. Um,
You're right.
so yeah, I think, and we had some great teachers, for sure. I remember Mr. Scannell very well.
Yes. Yes.
And even if they didn't have you for class, you knew all the teachers as well and what they brought to the table. So it felt like a community, I would say, you know?
Did you ever do carnival ball or anything like that?
I was the MC one year with Ron Davis and Elise. We were like the 3, people that did the MC for it, but yeah,
Really?
I can't remember what year it was.
I
It might have been '86 or '87.
Wait, you can MC when you're not seniors?
Oh, it must have been '88 then. I don't yeah, I guess
It would have to be 88, wouldn't it?
yeah, you're
I
stretching
think
my memory, but yeah, it was
that's okay. No, that's funny because I MC'd with Todd Davis.
oh, did
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I MC'd with Lisa Gebhardt. Todd Davis was Hans and Franz with me. I smoked,
oh,
sorry.
okay, yeah, it was Ron and Elise and I, and remember that was the year that, Paul Ardro played, Billy Joel's song on stage? Remember that? Yeah,
I do. I went that year. That's when I decided I wanted to do it.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
That is cool. Yeah. I thought you were for some reason, I thought you were in the drama club, but you weren't, apparently.
No, I just hung out with the drama. We hung out, like
Oh, that's fair.
we used to sit in that little alcove at the beginning of school instead of going to the cafeteria. They called us, like, the breakfast club. Um,
Nice.
so because the teachers would walk by and would be sitting there, and we got I mean, we got away with it because We were
'Cause
the
you were
kids. Yeah.
troublemakers, though. Yeah, right, exactly, exactly. And then how did your high school, career differ from your college career?
Um, did it differ from my college career? Um, well, obviously I was at Tufts, but I did live on campus, so that was different. Um, I was
How was
also
that? Because I commuted, so I really didn't feel the college experience, if you will.
Yeah. So Tufts is a very affluent college. So I did feel very like I was definitely the townie in the school, even though I lived there, right? So because I lived on campus the first year, and then I lived in the Russia house because I was studying Russia, and then I kind of had separate housing that you could do. So it was
Wow.
still like Stoneham ish because it was Medford, Somerville. But a lot of the kids that came from other places were because it was it was a private school, it was very well heeled, and I was working, like, I worked my way through college, so I was waitressing at, some of the local bars and restaurants and would have to go to class in my uniform, which, wasn't always great, or be
Well,
waiting on some of my classmates, when they came to the bar.
what was that like? Knowing that they probably can't tip you?
And they had to.
They had
I
to.
mean I mean, they're just out in the town, so they tipped me because I was
Oh.
working in, like, not at the Tufts, I was working at the bars,
Oh,
like,
outside
actually
of the
waitressing at yeah, local bars and restaurants. But it was good because, like, my Stoneham friends, because we were so close, they could also come hang out with me when I was working.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever see yourself I'm trying to work a Russian question in here because I'm really intrigued by this because I think it's amazing that you did that. When did you was it Mr. Friel, did he really plant the seeds in that, or had you thought about it before growing
I
up?
think not well, I always wanted to do Peace Corps, and I took Spanish for most of my time in high school, so I would when I got to Tufts, I was studying both Spanish and Russian, I got too confusing, so I gave up the Spanish and stuck with the Russian.
Wow.
But I think, it was Mr. Frail. It was also, if you remember at that time, it was kind of it was a moment in history, and I'm a history current events person, obviously. Like I was watching what was happening and looking at the Gorbachev Reagan conversations. The nuclear weapons issue was very near and dear to my heart, and that's how I got into the nuclear as well. 'Cause it felt like, a very specific moment in history, and then when we were in college, and the Berlin Wall fell, and you had the Velvet Revolution in the Czech Republic, like, all of this was coming it was happening, and it was a kind of a way to witness history firsthand because I was in Russia after the collapse of the Soviet Union, so when they asked me to go to Turkmenistan, I was like, "This is gonna be fascinating because here's a country that didn't have independence before the breakup of the Soviet Union." Same with Kazakhstan. And Kazakhstan, when I went there, was with the Department of Energy, and I was working on issues of nuclear nonproliferation. They had actually nuclear weapons when the Soviet Union broke up. It was Kazakhstan, Ukraine, and Belarus. And the whole world convinced them to give up their nuclear weapons and give them to Russia so that we weren't dealing with four nuclear states. We were just dealing with one. And it was around the time of all this arms control movement. And I think I was, very optimistic about what that would mean for the global future. And for a long time, and, when I came back to the United States after 9/11, I worked very closely with Russia on securing their nuclear materials and the nuclear weapons because our concern then was that they would fall into the hands of terrorists. And imagining a nuclear 9/11 is unimaginable, right? So we worked very hard for years with the Russians to try to prevent that. And then, the relationship fell apart. And then Russia invaded Ukraine. So it's kind of, an interesting point right now to see the arc of history and how all of that, went from something very, very hopeful to something, less hopeful.
Hmm, interesting. It's, I said never I would never like I told you, history was not my favorite subject, so I would never go that far deep thinking, and it's I can't commend you enough on what you did. It's amazing, I think.
Yeah, it was
Do you have any regrets about it, or do you?
I have mixed feelings. I mean, it's very hard because I was working with the Nunn Lugar program, so Sam Nunn and Dick Lugar. They were both senators who, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, worked to get budget for the United States to help dismantle the nuclear weapons systems within Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Belarus. So having helped dismantle that, and that was Ukraine's insurance policy. And Ukraine said, "Look, we'll give up our weapons, but you have to guarantee our sovereignty and our security." And the U.S. and Russia said exactly that's what they were going to do. And then Russia invaded, right? And so I find it very challenging to think about that because what's the signal that we're sending to other countries about giving up weapons if we're not going to defend the country that did the right thing back in the 90s, and now they're facing an existential crisis with the invasion from Russia.
Do you have any intentions of going far in your political career?
I don't know that I'll run for office. I don't know if I have the stamina to run for office or the personality because I'm very thin-skinned, so you can't really be in politics. But I intend to be an active citizen, right? Whatever that means. So locally, I pay attention to where our tax dollars are going, how people are being treated within the community. But I think one of the things that you had asked me about the Peace Corps and how what I learned about myself, I also learned about the fact that other cultures do, I think, a little bit better job of helping each other than we do. We're a little more isolated, right? A lot of people don't know their neighbors. They don't know their
Sure.
communities very well, and they don't necessarily help them out. And we don't live next to necessarily 3 generations the way other countries do, right? So, when we look at the challenges that we're facing with childcare, what have you, other communities, other, cultures, it's you live and I think actually my parents grew up this way because they were they Italians in the area, so they weren't very far from their parents and siblings or what have you, so they could help raise the kids, right? And you knew all the kids who were running out in the street, and any of the moms could get out and, like, say, "Junior, don't do that," like,
Yeah, yeah.
go back home." You don't see that.
I've heard that many times.
You don't see that anymore, or at least I don't see that in the community, but that's one of the things that I most admired, about living in those places where they had really tough economic times, and that's how they got through them, is that they had a very close-knit, um, safety net for everybody, and it was community-based. And so we don't necessarily have a strong of a community-based safety net, and I think that is a shame. So I would like to, um be involved in making sure that everybody feels that they're kinda not alone out there when bad shit happens. Stuff happens, sorry. I don't know what your podcast.
You can swear, you can do whatever you
Okay.
want. Say whatever you want, that's fine. So you're basically taking a Michael Jackson song and making it your own.
Yeah.
You are not alone. I like that. I like that. Do you have any, p do you come back to Stoneham at all? Ever?
Yeah, well, I'm actually my older sister's turning 60, uh, tomorrow, so I actually
Oh,
am coming back this weekend. To see
nice.
her, and see
Wow.
some of our friends. We don't have a family home there. My parents have passed, and they didn't
Oh,
actually own their home in Stoneham either. So migrated. They went to Arizona, and
fair enough.
spent, their last years there. So, like, I don't have a house to go back to, but I still have, friends and relatives that are there.
You have places to go.
Yeah, yeah. Every people let me couch surf when I come back. It's good.
Nice. Hey, just like you're a kid again. It's beautiful. Slumber parties all weekend.
Exactly.
That's great. Now I do have a question for you, and I did a little bit of a thing because I wanted to see if I was missing anything, so I went through a couple of your latest posts. And what is Manassas? Did I say that right?
Manassas? Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
city here in Virginia. So this is actually fascinating. So when I know you don't like history, but
No, oh, I'll
But
listen.
so you remember, like, when we went to high school or junior high or even elementary school, like, we got Revolutionary War. Like, we got a crap ton load of Revolutionary War stuff, right? We all know who Paul Revere is. We all know, like, we know the stories of, and then we spent, maybe a month or 2 on the Civil War, Red Cross 5 Aprils, whatever it was. Like, we didn't spend a deep dive there. Here, it's the opposite. Like, they spend very little time in the Revolutionary War. They spent a lot of time in the Civil War because, of course, it happened here. So Manassas, the Battle of Manassas is a major battle in the Civil War, except in the North, we call it the Battle of Bull Run. Like, that we just name things differently. And I was so
Huh.
surprised when I came down here and I was like, "What? What's going on?" Like, it's a different, like, we teach history different because of, where you are in the country. Um, so we got
That makes
yeah,
sense,
we
yeah.
got more Revolutionary War, they got more Civil War. So Manassas is a city that's maybe 10 minutes down the road from me. It's part of the county that I'm in, and it is the site of, one of the biggest battles of the Civil War. There's a lot of Civil War stuff here.
Do you ever giggle when you tell people you live in Manassas? Do you?
Ye
You'd
yeah.
have to.
There's a
You'd
there's a
have
lot of
to.
stand-up around here.
I didn't wanna try, but yeah,
Yeah,
no,
there's
that's
a lot of stand-up comics where they talk about, Manassas.
what do they what do they say? What give me your
Oh,
best
I
Mana
don't think I could do one. I'm trying to
That's fair, but it is pronounced Manassas though,
Manassas,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you'd have to call it
Right,
Manassas.
right. But yeah,
Do
there's
you know how
probably
it
some
came
truth.
about? I am curious though, legitimately curious about how that came about because I can't believe there's not some guy that said, you know, um, change the name."
Yeah,
No? That
but
how do you know how that came about?
it's historic. I think it's, been around for a while. I don't know if it's come
But somebody thought it was a good idea to
from
call it
it's a good idea. I
Manassas.
thought it was called that.
Somebody thought it was a good
Yeah.
idea. I don't know,
So
just curious.
do you know Shabuzi? Have you heard of Shabuzi?
I've heard of Shaboozey, I'm not quite familiar with
So Shabuzi
Shaboozey.
is from Manassas, and he gives us a
Really?
shout out in one of his songs. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
kidding. What song? What song is a shout out?
I'm not sure of the name of the song, but he does call it out, and he calls out some of the areas.
Does he rhyme it with
No,
molasses?
I don't think he rhymes it.
See, that's too bad.
But, yeah, I'm trying to encourage him, so if you're watching this, Shabuzi, I'd like to have
Yeah,
him
Shaboozey.
come to, the art center that I work at, you know, um, and do a concert there. It'd be helpful for our venue.
That would be that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
So I'm working on it. Like, I've got so I there's because it's Manassas, right? It's a small area. The woman who I did the podcast with, the guy that was filming it for her, her social media person, played football with Shabuzi's brother. So,
No kidding.
yeah, so I'm like, "Okay, here's the assignment. Go find him."
If you choose to accept it. I think you could call it "Spreading Molasses on
Yeah.
Manassas." Huh? What could go
What
wrong
could go
there?
wrong there?
Nothing, nothing. Take a sip, you've earned it. Look at that mug.
It's coffee.
Show the No, but that's a patriotic mug if I ever saw
Yeah,
one.
so well,
Was it?
this is from, an agreement we had with Russia where we took a lot of their excess I gotta get nerdy, their excess
Go ahead.
highly enriched uranium, and we converted it in our nuclear power plants and made electricity. So at one point, our
Is that
electric
right?
bulbs were powered by weapons grade material from Russia.
Wow.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
AGU purchase agreement. It's 90 so this is the commemorative mug from that, 1993 to 2013.
I think I do remember reading about, or having to talk about the purchase agreement. I don't recall I don't remember obviously, you just told me what it was, but I didn't remember that. But I when you said the purchase agreement, I'm like, "Oh, I've actually
Oh,
have
good.
heard of that."
See?
Yeah. Yeah. Eh, I like to admit to some things if I can do it. Um, Mr. A once challenged me. He, told me I think I've told this on the podcast before, it's kinda boring, but, um, because he knew I didn't like the class, but you have to take it. And he challenged me to he told me I couldn't get an A on a test. And so I studied my my man ass off, and I got like a I think a 98 or something like that. I think I really like legit 90, not that I wasn't getting good grades, but I didn't care about history, so I didn't really study that much. So I studied my ass off. I got a 98, and he wrote back on the test, "Who did you cheat off of?" That was his
Uh,
response.
so, do you remember what the
He
subject was?
kidded me. Oh, the actual class, I think, was world history.
Oh, right,
I
but
fifth
the
grade taught us
quiz,
world.
was it, like, on I don't know.
I remember, uh, I I think there was a person named, this is gonna sound terrible, it really is, but I did a word association thing. There's this guy, and I don't know, I'm using this loosely, Clifthenis or something like that. I know I don't know, but it's good. I'll say it. Basically, he was the person in charge of removing people from the town or the country or the city or whatever we were studying, and his name had the word "clit" in it.
And that's how you remembered it?
Throw the clit out. That's how I remembered it. So when it came up to that, that's how I remembered that name,
Right.
and I don't remember, but that's what I did with everybody, everything that I needed to remember, and that's how I did it, and but that's the one I remember because it's,
It's good mnemonic
of a dirty
practice,
of a
you know?
but it's true, that's how I remembered it, and I got a 98. I forget the question I missed, obviously, but, yeah, no, I did, but then I was, then he's like, "Well, you gotta do it again." I'm like, "Well, we'll see. Maybe.
So,
We'll figure it out."
my high school shame was art class. I'm not I have no I have no artistic talent whatsoever, and my
Who did you
sister,
have for art?
what was his name? He was my homeroom teacher too, and I am just blanking on his name, but he had my sister.
Schwab?
Yeah,
Was it
yeah, Mr.
Schwab?
Swap.
Schwab did art?
So, my
Okay.
sister was my second I'm the youngest of 4, she was the number 2. She was actually an artist, and so they loved her, and so I was, like, big disappointment. So I took an art class, and I wasn't didn't very good. And in Stoneham, you had to you had to graduate with a certain number of art and music credits. Well, I was short, and I petitioned because I had taken creative writing with Mr. Reed, and I said, "Creative writing is an art," and they're like, "No, no, no, sweetie, it's gotta be art."
Already in the
And I
politics,
was
I like
like,
it.
"But no, 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 art and letter societies, that the art and letter societies of the world, like, they recognize poetry and what," and they're like, "No, no." So senior year, when everybody else is getting out early, the only class I could fit into my schedule was 3D construction, which is basically making paper mache shit, and
What's wrong with that?
I had to make this paper mache hippopotamus, which was the most ridiculous looking thing. It would look like a footstool that was and it looked like it was eating marshmallows, and like, all my friends were like, that is ridiculous," and I almost carried it to graduation because I couldn't have graduated without the stupid, um, credit for art.
Fulfilling that credit, right?
And
That's insane.
I will never forget that. I'm like, "You guys made me do paper mache my senior year when I should have been getting out early and doing other fun things." Uh,
I could have graduated if it was legal. I could have graduated after junior year. I already had the 88 credits. You had to I think I needed, maybe it wasn't 88 exactly, but the only class I had to take senior year was English. I had to fill it up, but the only requirements, actually, I think you had to take gym too, because they made you take gym and all that stuff, but yeah, I could have left at at junior year, but, I can't imagine. I think I had Schwab. I had to have. Who did the pottery? Did you ever do some sort of pottery?
no, I wish I had done that. That sounds easier than paper
Yeah, because we
mache.
had we they yeah, 'cause we had to put it in the kiln and everything like
Oh,
that. It was pretty,
that sounds fun. I don't
yeah,
know,
I don't remember.
I might not have been able to fit it in my schedule because, like, the other thing I rebelled against was it's like I didn't take calculus. Like, I did everything.
Did you have
Avoid
to?
it. No, you had to take, like, 3 years of math, and I think I got up to,
Yeah.
like, trig terrified me, and I was just not very good at it. So but when I went to college, they said, "Well, you have to have a certain number of math and sciences," and I said, "I'm gonna do math in summer," because I didn't think I could do it with all the other classes. So I took calculus, like, in summer school and just studied my ass off.
So you could only
Yeah,
focus
it's, like,
on that.
really fun,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
got
right,
an A,
sure.
but I was like
That's smart, that's smart.
I didn't yeah. I avoided it And I remember yeah, and so I didn't do as many math and science classes, and I remember one year coming back. Do you remember Mr. Mayo?
Yeah, sure.
And I went to Dairy Queen and
Dairy Dome, Dairy
Dairy
Dome.
Dome, yeah, sorry, Dairy Dome, and he was behind the counter, and he's like, "Oh," it was just like after graduation, after I'm in my career, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I work for the National Nuclear Security Administration." And he's just like "They let you near nukes?" I'm
They let
like,
you
"Yeah,
Did you bring your
yeah,
hippopotamus?
yeah, so yeah, shocking." And I think he was terrified, like, "Oh my god."
That's
"I
funny.
don't split the atoms,
That's great.
sir. Don't worry."
But and I wonder I'm not the one doing that. When's the last time you had to use calculus, though?
I
It We used to laugh 'cause we would try to use, calculators, and they'd say, "You know, you can't use calculators because you'll never you'll" that no one uses math anymore, or except for the and then they made that long math, which I would hate to be a kid, like my niece and nephew, they had to take. Do you ever heard the new
Oh,
math?
yeah, 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 yeah.
When it's like 50 steps, instead of just carrying the 1, it's the most insane thing I've
Right,
ever
well, they
seen in my
round
life.
up and then they yeah,
I don't
I my brain
Why would you do
yeah,
that?
my
But why should it? Like, talk about on one hand, the youth is inventing, the internet and all this stuff, and all this electronic stuff and the iPhones, but you have to make math more difficult? And there's a calculator on every phone.
right.
And even, like I mentioned, the telling time, they don't know how to tell time
No,
unless it's digital.
yeah,
Unless you're reading, I'm reading 10:45 right now. If that was a clock, they'd be like, "I don't know, it looks sounds like lunch to me." I mean, but so they took the clocks out of the schools.
they did?
Yeah, they took the clocks out of the
Now it's like a
schools,
casino, they don't know
and
what time it is?
and I just yeah, and there's no
Black out the
there's no
yeah,
light
black out
either.
your
They blacked out all the stuff. But I'm thinking to
that could be
myself,
really
if only there was a place kids could go to learn how to tell time.
hmm.
Hmm, yeah, they don't make school I don't make that anymore. But you could teach them, like, we learned
Well,
how to
isn't
tell
it
time in
cursive
school.
too? Like, I so
Cursive, right. How do you
I call that
sign your
handwriting,
name? I
right?
can't.
It's just handwriting, like, it's either printed or handwritten, but they call it cursive, right? So, one of the things that I did when I took my last position in 2015, I was, like, all of a sudden, like, the big boss, and I had 112 people that worked for me, and so I thought it'd be really nice at Christmas time to write them all a handwritten note to thank them for what they did in the organization. And I did this for the whole time, like 10 years, like, ev
100 people.
100 people, and I would just write them this, like, nice handwritten note recognizing what they did individually for the organization, and, some of the younger engineers, because they were all I had all the engineers and the scientists and the physicists, like, they all worked for me, and some of the younger engineers were like, "This is great, Miss Connery. Can you tell me
Thank
what this
you.
says?" 'Cause I 'cause I literally, like wrote it in script, and so they would sit around and be like, "I think this says that," and I don't have great handwriting, so that was part of it, but they're like, "We know it says that," and then you see what they do, the engineer they write these little tiny, like, block letters, it's beautiful, and it's all neatly printed in these, teeny tiny lines, and I was like, yeah." I like the flourish.
Really? Yeah, 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 exactly, exaggerated,
Yeah,
like, almost calligraphy,
right,
almost.
right. But it was funny because they
That's
were like,
crazy.
"Oh, yeah, I don't think I could write like that. I think I can sign my name." I'm like, "Oh, that's good." And now
Yeah,
you
where
do
they
like, you just write, you put your n squeal on a phone.
you type it. Or you can type it on documents.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't even have to, but it's insane to me, like, I I tried to do the I did it recently, I 'cause I always make fun of it. So I'm like, I really should find out if I can remember how to do it myself because I haven't cursive handwritten I'm making fun of them, but I don't use cursive handwriting either. So I was like, I'm gonna do the alphabet. I was able to do it, but it was pure luck out of memory because I haven't handwritten anything
Maybe we should bring
as
back
far as
letter writing.
I do, but I just print.
Oh,
I don't use cursive. My grandmother had this thing where before she passed, she'd send you a birthday card or whatever, and you had to write her a letter back, a thank you letter back, or you stopped getting the checks. So you do it. I mean, come on, you
and it's
gotta
polite.
do it. But, yeah, no, it is. But it's just funny because that's the only time I would really write letters. I never really write letters to anybody, but if I would print it for her because my I think my printing is bad, but my cursive is more worse, I should say, not more bad. Excuse me, but so I can't really make fun of these people because I don't do it either. I mean, it's all electronics.
Yeah. I mean, I still handwrite things, like, my to-do list.
To people or
Well, like, for myself, like, when
to-do
I take
lists?
notes to do I can't take notes on a computer. I've never been able to master that. Um, I went back to school during the last Trump administration around COVID time and got another degree, and, but it was all online, and it was very different.
Hold on, you it's so funny to say that, like, "Yeah, I went back, I had COVID to kill, so I figured I had a couple months, I figured I'd just get another degree." What you don't play it like that. You got another how long did it take you to do that?
It was about a year and I think it was a year and a half or 2 it was 2 years. So, it was a master's in social work. So, it's class time, but then you had to do, like, 1,000 hours of actual social work. So, I worked with,
Wow.
the kids in the county that had, gotten in trouble with the law, but hadn't actually been adjudicated yet. So they weren't in juvie, they weren't in juvenile detention, but it was, like, before that. So they might have had the ankle monitors, and they were under, um, kinda like, pretrial they call it pretrial, like, pretrial parole, so it's before their trials. So I worked with them, doing, like, group therapy on anger management and life skills and whatnot. Um, and the youth of today is very
Wow.
different than the youth so so I well, they're the same but different, right? They have different challenges, but their
Sure.
reactions to them are very similar to the reactions that we had when we were younger. Um, but they didn't, where we would skip school and maybe go drinking, now there's, it's much more the vaping and the pills and the pot than it is anything else. So,
Did you ever skip school?
yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
No kidding. Like, not just a class, you skipped school? Was it
No, I remember I'm not gonna name names here, but people that you
that's
would
fine.
know and probably be shocked at, by the way. There's one day that we skipped school and we went to the basement of one of my very good friends' homes, and, we drank a lot, listened to
In the morning?
during the day, and then we decided it was a good
Wow.
idea to go to Burlington Mall.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and
Why would you wanna go to the
yeah,
mall?
and I got sick all over Burlington Mall, and
Did you really?
And the cops came, and my other very good friend told them that I was, having an allergic reaction to my amoxicillin, which is, like, the nerdiest way of explaining the fact that I was booting all over Arlington Mall
That's
because I was drinking.
funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
The
Did
Burlington
you
have you
not
been to Bur
why did you not think that I would skip school and do something?
Well, I didn't I mean, obviously anyone's capable of it, but I didn't no, I didn't see that
Yeah.
coming. No, that's amazing. I don't think I've ever skipped school.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well
I loved high school.
well, I think yeah, I liked high school, but it was skipping school with your friends from high school was also pretty damn cool too.
Yeah, I guess, but I didn't even do, like, the senior skip day, I didn't do that, I didn't do
I had
anything.
a harder time in college because I knew how much each class cost. So, I
Yeah,
would actually do the that's when I did the math, like, "Oh, shit, if I skip this class, like, that is
yes.
worth how much."
Now I'm using calculus, this is great.
Right, like, how much money would it cost me to skip this class? I mean, I did it a couple of times, like, I overslept or whatever, but it was more painful because like, it cost money. And
You yeah,
I was
yeah, t
acutely aware of, how much university cost.
that's funny to think of it that way, because I should have been skipping in high school.
Yeah,
Because who cares?
yeah, and then, did you do the student loan thing? Did you take out student loans?
Yeah, I forget where though. Yeah.
Because the other thing that is very different is, like, I paid back all my student loans at, like, 8.5%. It's crazy how much money that we spent on.
It's a racket.
Yeah, yeah. So,
It's a total racket.
I do worry about, the amount of debt that kids accrue to go to school, and, It needs to be more affordable for people because I do think it's a very important thing to do. Um, and I get that not everybody maybe wants to go to college or needs to go to college, but I do think there's something about it that is important, both intellectually and socially, to be exposed to different ideas and learn skills that you didn't know you had. Like I took calculus. Look at me. I took calculus in college. I didn't just have high school.
Hey, look at me.
So anyway, it's another.
Did you agree or disagree, without getting into it, like, just I'm just curious as to how you felt about when, the school the student loans were being wiped away.
So I didn't. It didn't hurt my head because I think it was kind of like the housing thing. Like people got in to housing and they were given these loans and there was no way for them to repay their loans. And so they defaulted on the loans and it caused a huge problem. What you don't want to happen is that to happen on the student loan side too, right? Like the macroeconomic issue is that if folks can't afford to live, right, they're not buying your products, they're not taking advantage of your services, and then it's a downhill slope for society. So the more funds people have in their pockets to spend on the economy, the better the economy does. So it didn't hurt my head that you're forgiving the loans for people because even though I was somewhat cranky, like I paid mine back at 8.5%, but the cost of living was different then too. In some cases it was higher, in some cases it was lower, but the cost of housing right now, rents are very, very high. I'm assuming they're very high in Massachusetts. They're very high here. Uh, Same with housing. So getting people's basic needs met, I think, is a big challenge. And
Nice, well
and
said.
I don't, people. I think it's hard for folks to save the money for their kids to go to college. And interestingly, my kids, I raised, like I said, I raised my husband's first husband's only husband, kids for 19 years. And and one of them was special needs. The other two, one went to community college and the other one went to a semester of college and she just didn't want to do it. She said no. And it was very different from how I grew up, where it was like, "Nobody can take your education away from you. You have to," education is super, super important. They didn't go that direction, and they're doing fine. But I think every kid should have that choice, and every family should have that choice of whether or not their child should have the opportunity to go to school to study whatever they want to study. And whether or not they're studying art history, whether or not they get a job in art history is immaterial, because the studying of the subject matter enriches them and brings them joy and is something that they will give back in some way to the community around them.
Wow, look at that. See? And you don't know if you're gonna run for office somewhere. Come on.
I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't think I have the. I don't.
Connery, Congress, it kinda works there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We'll see.
I'm just saying.
We'll see.
Um, is there anything you'd like to promote?
Mm, mm, mm. Do you have a comedy special coming up I should promote?
Of course, you no, you
No,
don't.
do you?
What?
Do you have a comedy
Do
special?
I?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
No, you should.
No.
Isn't that your
No.
aspiration? Like, yeah.
People just laugh at me, they don't laugh with me,
I
it's
don't I
different.
don't think about that. Anything I'd like to promote? No, I don't have any. It come down to
Nothing,
DC at
nothing.
some time. I think everybody should see the nation's capital. Um, don't storm the Capitol, just visit it. That's my request.
Leave it alone.
But I think that, just like I tell people here all the time, you have to go to Boston. You have to go see, the beginning of our country where the Revolutionary War started. You have to go to Concord and Lexington, whether or not you like history. You have to go to Fenway and have that experience because it's, part of the American culture, I think, more so than any other ball field in the country. But, coming
No bias.
No bias here at all. But coming to DC, I think is similar, like, to see up close, um, Congress and the White House and the statue before while they're still here, the museums, while they're still free. Um,
Right.
the Smithsonian, and, I think a lot of kids, I don't know, did you do I didn't do close up, but some of the kids, I think, in our high school did close up or other programs where they came down to DC to, um,
I didn't do it.
tour, but I didn't do that either. But I think it's something that everybody should have the chance to do. This is people's house. This is where people should come, and
Have have you been to the White House?
I worked in the White House. Yeah.
Okay, so you did. So do you I here's how I feel, and I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, and all these sports teams are declining invitations to go to the White House, and I look at it as I don't care if I get invited to the White House, I don't care if I love the president or hate the president or even know the president.
Mhm.
I'm going to the White House because it's the White House.
Yeah.
It's not so much I know you can hate Donald Trump, you can hate Obama, you can hate Clinton, anybody you wanna hate, you can hate. But I think you're only hurting yourself by not going to the White House, to be honest. I that's I just
Yeah.
maybe I'm so not into politics that I don't see it that way, but, like, I can't imagine I'd regret it if I didn't go.
Yeah, I think
It's the White House.
yeah, I look, I worked in George W. Bush's White House, I worked in Obama's White House, and it is a very special place, and you never get over the feeling of walking the halls of history, and it's a big deal, and I was lucky enough to see the Patriots when they went there, although I would say
Oh,
Tom
nice.
Brady didn't come because of his politics, and Obama was president,
See?
right?
That
I was
that's a
The
problem.
Bruins were there.
Tim Thomas didn't go?
Yeah, but I understand, like, with the Super Bowl champions, like, why they didn't wanna come because of when all that went down, what was happening with, their perception of what was being said about DEI, right? And that's their choice. They can make that. I think the players should have the opportunity even if the team doesn't wanna go, if some of them wanna go, um, and I think, you don't want politics in sports, um, but the lines are so blurred now where people are putting politics into sports, not just the sports teams, like, the politicians are putting politics into sports, and or going to NASCAR, going to these places, and, I think we've we've gotten to a point where, like, their job is to govern. And the sports team's job is to play ball. And we should recognize the sports teams that play ball well, and have ceremonies for them. But I think we're at a point where it's too difficult to separate. But I hear your point. Like, if I didn't get invited to the Trump White House, but I was asked to go, and I went to the, joint session of Congress, State of the Union, the most recent one. My congressman, Eugene Vindman, asked me um, to go with him because each of the Congress people can take one of their constituents. I'm his constituent, and I was, doing some speaking about the way the federal government was, um, being um, portrayed in the media, how people were getting dismissed from their positions, kind of the haphazard way that was all happening. So I was being vocal about that in the community and going to town halls so that people could understand what was actually happening because there's a lot of misinformation that was going on. And so I took the opportunity to go. I did not support Trump in the election. I don't think anyone who watches your podcast or sees my social media will be shocked by that. But I thought it was important to go and witness history.
So that basically is my point, is it's not about the person, it's about the event or however you wanna look at it, but that's it, 'cause I've never been a political person. I don't judge anybody for who they believe in, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I just feel it's one of those things where you don't go there every day,
Yeah,
and it's history. You can, I mean, it's the president of the United States. You know what I mean? I understand how important it is, even though I don't care about the politics. Does that make
yeah.
sense? Like I can respect the House
Mhm.
itself without having any association with the person who's residing in
Right.
it. That's basically what I'm
But
saying.
I'm gonna push back on you. You are a political person, right? Because you use your voice all the time to talk about things you care about. That's political, right?
Yeah,
Some people
just
be political, but it's political, right? You go to the library, you use the roads, you vote in elections, I hope. You use the post office. All those things are political, and this is a country in which, citizens are part and parcel of our politics. So, yeah, absolutely respect the House and respect the elections and understand that, the will of the people rules. That's the beauty of it. We have the beauty of protest in this country. We have First Amendment rights to speak. Um, but it's an amazing thing to be able to participate however you participate in government, local, state, federal. Having lived in Turkmenistan where 98% of the vote went to one guy because they came to your house and that's how you voted, and you had to have his photograph up on the wall, and you get an appreciation for the fact that, as divided as we are right now, the fact that everybody has the ability to voice their opinions and participate is a great thing.
I'll tell you a funny story about me in politics. I don't know what year it was. It was a while ago, a long time ago, probably. And Bobby Sweeney was running for town something selectman. I don't know what it was. Yeah, and he's like, will you vote? I'm like, I'm not registered. He's like, could you do it? Yeah, sure, of course I will. So I didn't know where I stood. I'm like, I don't know if I'm Republican. I don't know if I'm Democrat. This libertarian thing, that must mean neutral. So I voted. I am a libertarian. I've never changed it to anything because I don't know what I am a registered libertarian, but I don't even know what that even means. I thought it meant you were neutral. Swear to God, I did. That's exactly right. That was my reasoning because I don't know what I am.
Yeah, but you can be independent. I mean, independent is actually the
That's what I thought
yeah,
it
yeah.
was. Independent.
But, yeah, and different states do it differently as to whether you register for a party or not, and again, once you get in the ballot box, it doesn't, unless it's a primary, like, you can vote for whomever you want or write somebody in if you want to, but, ballot questions are very big locally, right? Are you gonna spend money on the school? Are you going to spend money on the police force? How do you feel about, police unions? How do you feel about teachers unions? All of those types of things that are very local are hugely impactful to your community. I mean, everybody bitches about taxes, but the taxes are what keeps the potholes filled and, the teachers paid and whatnot. So there's always going to be a balance between what are we paying and what are we paying for, and how do we think about that? And, I spent the last 10 years of my life working on the safety of nuclear weapons. Do I love the fact that we have nuclear weapons? No. Or the numbers that we have, or the fact that, our adversaries have them. It's a terrifying prospect that, we haven't wrapped our heads around entirely, but if we're going to have them, I'm all for making sure that they're safe and that the people who are touching them and putting them together and dismantling them are safe as they do them. So, you know, it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But you're in a position to do that. I'm just some schmuck from Stoneham who lives in Abington, where the potholes are not filled. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
well, see, there you go. See, that's you should write to your selectman, tell Bobby Skinny,
Oh, you mean get on
"I
that.
want my pothole filled."
Yes,
And
please,
and
please.
honestly, like, they all have I don't think people understand this. All these congressional folks and the local politicians, they have somebody in their office whose job it is to answer your mail. So if you say to them,
Really?
like, particularly if it's local politics, "My trash doesn't get picked up regularly, and I pay taxes, and I want my" they will answer you. Like, if the potholes, if you have a personal, like, I've had challenges with my special needs daughter, both in school and, in other places where I've had to advocate for her, and I will go to the local politician and I'll be like, "Hey, this is what's happening in your community," and that's their job. Their job is to represent you. So if there's something messed up, like my mail's not coming, my pothole's not getting filled, my special needs child was, left on a doorstep for 3 hours for no apparent reason, like, they will listen and they will get involved. They've helped people here get, because of the transitions with what's happening with the government right now, make sure they get their VA benefits to help them understand how to get their unemployment and whether or not they're, able to get to unemployment. That's what they do. Like, we pay them for that. We voted for them for that. So,
Right.
yeah, your local
But I did
politician's gonna
that.
be mad at me, but harass them about whatever it is that's
No,
irking you today.
but I I did that, Joyce, but I think now that I think about it, my problem was I wrote it in cursor, so they probably
Yeah.
didn't.
You might have to dumb it down some.
I saw you did this motion to the type you said, "Get on there." Yeah, you did the
Yeah,
typing thing.
typing it,
See,
yeah.
so you
Because
you
it's
should have
easier to
been like,
get to
"Do
them.
this, do this." That's true, that's true,
Or call
that's
them,
true. I Yeah, call me.
Yeah. But
That's
you don't
funny.
do that anymore, you do this, right? So
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it. You're like,
also,
so
it's
even though but everyone's like,
very difficult to slam this down.
"It does no effect,
No,
no
when you
effect,
frown.
no effect."
You can't
Did
be
you
dramatic.
ever
That's
have you ever
also the hard part about dating now is, like, no call waiting, you can't send it to voicemail, or I guess you can do it now, but, you can never say, "I never got your message." Um,
Right, it says "red" right on it.
right, and you can't slam the phone down in anger. So, it's very dissatisfying.
You hurt your own self. Have you ever done this? Have you ever not done this is what I should say, because whenever someone asks for a pen, you know what a pen is, right? Okay, do you need the visual? Yeah, you got a
Oh,
pen.
yeah.
You got a pen.
Or
You
the
got a pen.
the motion, which they don't do it anymore in the restaurants, you say for the check, and they come and they give you this
Check.
device, and you're like,
Yeah.
or now it's just you pay with a QR code.
I've seen that. I've
Yeah, that's
seen that.
very
And it shouldn't be called a check anyways, it's a bill, it's not a check. You're not giving me a check, you're giving me a bill.
yeah, that's true.
Eh, I'd like to get a check, please. That's what they should say. Check, please. Please, for the love of God, give me a
So where
check.
do you stand on tipping? Should
Um,
they get better wages and no tips, or should they?
no, I believe in tips. I believe in tips. I just don't believe in the idea that you have to put 100% down there. Like, what are you saying? Like it used to be 10% and it was 15, 20. I have no problem with even 25% if it's good, but tips are supposed to be based on your service. It's not you like some people say I tip a minimum of 15% no matter what. Well, then you're doing it wrong. They're not going to if they know they're getting something, what's the incentive to provide good service? And believe me, everyone has bad I'm not saying that I've never been a fan of not tipping. I also will tip regardless, but um, yeah, the when you can pick the amount of tips, I always do custom because I'll look at the 15 or the 20 I'll look at the 20 and I'll round it up to the next
Yeah, so
5.
but my issue is I always want a round number because 'cause I'm like so I do the custom as well.
Yeah, yeah, I do the custom and I round it up if it's
But,
really good or I'll but I just don't like to see 100% tip on there. Like, what if I wanna now you're saying that you're do you know what I mean? Like, there shouldn't be pressure to tip.
right. Well, even
I
now at the
get
coffee shops, like everything, they just turn the thing around and there's a ti I'm like, "You're literally just pouring me a coffee." Now if it's a half calf double whatever foam blah, blah, blah,
Starbucks
yeah,
special.
maybe they just maybe there's a tip there, but they must have to pool them because I can't imagine that it's all individual at that point because it's just a
'Cause 10 people are working
yeah,
on it. It's not just one
right,
person.
it's like
When
an
there's one
assembly
person
line.
alone, you know who you're tipping. But why do you tip Dunkin' Donuts, but you don't tip Burger King? They're giving you food. Dunkin' Donuts is making you a coffee. They're pouring it and saying, "Here, give this to Billy, who gives it to him, here you go." And then you hand the person who stood there looking at you for 5 minutes while they're waiting for it to give them a tip. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't tip Dunkin' Donuts, but why aren't we tipping McDonald's people?
Oh, we don't take McDonald's
They're
over
actually
here.
yeah, but I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you do it's the same thing. You can justify a McDonald's more than you can a coffee shop.
Yeah.
I think. You're pouring a coffee. and you're screwing it up half the time.
Well, now that I'm retired, I think I might have to get a job as a barista because 'cause I'm gonna have to pay some bills, so I'll be
I hear I see, but that's good though. I have no problem with people doing that. It's they say Starbucks is one of the best places to work, actually.
It seems like it would be a lot of pressure. And I've worked
Maybe,
at the White House,
but
but that seems like a lot.
but imagine that. That would be great. I was at the White House, but no, they say that Starbucks is a good company to work for. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I believe them. I remember when I was waitressing, you kinda learn early on that, like, there's a hierarchy, right? So, I was cocktail waitressing in Somerville, and,
We're in Somerville.
so I don't think it's oh, is I don't think it's open anymore, but it was Joey Vitiello's mom's bar. It's like somebody from like, one of Joey Vitiello's relatives, like, ran this thing, and it was a bar that had music in it and it served some food.
Oh,
And so at the beginning of there was a dinner shift and then it was just all cocktails. And, like, the newer waitresses or the, like, less cool waitresses, which was me, would do the food, right? And they just had this little window where the food would come out. And they would ring a bell. And so I remember, like, one of the first days I worked there, I was taking somebody's order and all the food was up and they rang the bell and they rang the bell. And I was getting so frustrated because 'cause I'm trying to interact with the customers because 'cause they're gonna give me the tip. So I'm like, "They're more important than the cook. They're not more important than the cook." Because when I went back over there and yelled at the cook, I'm like, "If you ring that bell at me one more time, I'm going to shove it up your ass." Um, they fucked up every order after that for the rest of the evening.
oh, so you wouldn't get
And
tipped.
then, then I had to go back at
Sabotage.
the end of the night, and I was like they're like, "Did you learn your lesson?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm sorry." Like, I have to kick
Did you learn your lesson?
Yes, I learned my lesson.
They sabotaged the food.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
they screwed up every single order because they don't care about the tips, right? Like, you care. So you look like the idiot because you're bringing food that people
Yes.
didn't order. It was yeah, that was one of the lessons of, like, never piss off your IT guy, never piss off the cook, like, always
Right,
make friends with the
right.
concierge. Like, there's things in life that you need to know what to do, and
There's
yeah,
protocols,
that was
yes.
definitely one
It
of them.
behooves you to do this, absolutely. No, you definitely don't piss off that's I if I get the wrong order, I'll never send it back, unless it's something that I'm allergic well, I'm not even allergic to anything, but I would never send anything back. It's fine. I'll eat it. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
people
If you wanna comp it, you can comp it, but I'm not sending it back. There's no
yeah,
way.
please don't
'Cause I don't wanna get the return.
yeah, I don't want yeah. And half the time they
He
just
doesn't like
move
it.
the
How about
thing
this?
off and they put it back on and they don't yeah. Um, I don't miss
Add a loogie to it underneath. Yeah, no, it's definitely not t I like, the people who really make a big stink about it, you know that they're doing something to your food. You know they are. You have to know that.
that being said, I think everybody should have the opportunity in their lifetime to work either at a restaurant or a fast food because that gives you a sense of, like, I understand what the service industry goes through.
I worked at the Ground Round.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah, I think for a summer. Yeah.
I was at JJ Grimsby's in Stoneham with Ron for
Ron
yeah,
Davis?
he was there.
Nice. I remember Grimsby's. It's right
Is it
by the
still
it's pet down past the zoo.
yeah,
It's still
it's still
there.
there. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one of my first waitressing jobs, was Grimsby's.
We used to go there after I played softball in Wakefield, we would go there afterwards because it was kinda neutral. We had people who lived in Melrose, Stoneham, and Wakefield, so Grimsby's, other than the place at the lake, I forget what it was called at the time, but in the hotel, there was a little hotel restaurant on the lake,
Oh, yeah.
and we would either go there because it was right down the street, or we would go to Grimsby's because it's, like, centrally located for
You know
us.
what I miss is the nines. So we don't have those down here.
The
I
9
love
You
99.
don't?
Mm-mm. It's a shame.
Yeah,
I
that
feel like, "Come
the
down and build them for 99 just for me." Like, I
but they have them other places, right?
yeah, they have other places, but for whatever reason, I feel like the bar at the nines and, like, I'm a I love pub food. I'm not a foodie. Like, give me a beer and a plate of nachos,
Pub food's
and I'm
great.
happy.
I love yeah, that's ideal for
Yeah,
me.
me too.
So you would get the 9s.
I go to the nines, yeah. It's one of my
Well, you're coming home this
I
weekend.
know. I think one of our trips is definitely Kelly's on the Beach. That's one place I always hit.
Nice.
And so I brought my boyfriend, there for, Christmas this year. and, it was a little cold on the beach, but we did and we went to
Suck it up.
and then we went to Mike's and got our cannoli, and I'm like he's like,
Nice.
"Is this thoughts
You
just about the food?" I'm like, "Not just about the food, but it's like, there's a lot."
yeah, pretty
It
good
is
though.
pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. So you did Kelly's on the you gotta do Kelly's on Riviera because
yeah.
that's you gotta do that, and Mike's, Modern, whoever you want, Mike's is great. Um, where else did you do?
We didn't do it this time,
Or would you
but
do?
we got Colognes is also, like, a fan favorite,
Mm.
'cause, China Moon's gone, but Colognes was always a
Yeah,
big, a favorite of ours. Dairy Dome was also which is also gone. Um, and usually the Black Rose for beer at some point.
that's in
It's in
Boston, right?
Boston, but there's one in Faneuil Hall, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of, the back of the Faneuil
Yeah,
Hall.
I took him to Fenway and we did the tour. The tours at Fenway are just amazing. Like, it's great to go see a ball game there, but they do an amazing tour. Like, all the tour guides are I don't know if you've ever done one,
I
but they
have.
even for a local, like, they're pretty amazing. Um,
Yeah?
yeah, and I have not made it out to, Foxborough since they built the, like, museum or
Oh, you haven't been to Gillette Stadium
not since they redid
or
it. Like, I used to go
or
when it
everything
wa
around it.
remember when they were like, I had to sweep the snow off the benches and sit on the like, oh, cold.
Yeah, I've done that, yeah, absolutely. I
Now it's
did
a little
that.
fancier, but yeah, I haven't been out there yet.
It's a lot fancier. It's actually pretty cool. I hope you make it over there. They have a nice movie theater as well.
Oh, do they? So how do you get there? Do you have to drive, or is there a way to get there by train?
I don't know if there's a train. I think there's a train,
Mhm,
but I've never taken it. I've always driven in,
mhm.
which is a nightmare, as you know, but if you go off season, it's not a nightmare, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah.
But I think there's a train
Hmm.
around there somewhere. I don't know. I feel like more people would be taking the train though if they had one.
Yeah, that's always a hard
I
thing
don't
with
really know.
well, because it's New England, right? It's not a Boston team, right? But like, getting to the sports stadiums, um, when they build them off, like, outside of a metro area is a challenge.
Yeah, like I'd asked you earlier if you heard the train. There's been about 3 trains that have
I
gone
can't
by.
hear him
I
at
don't know if
all.
the well, I haven't had the window open a crack. If I had it down, you could hear it because they go literally right behind me. I mean, I can honestly when I do the podcast in my garage, you can't not hear it because it's honestly 30 feet behind my garage,
Wow.
and it just goes I mean, it's just but I don't hear it that often anymore, but I always like to people like to hear the trains on the podcast sometimes. It's kinda nerdy, but well, you're a nerd. You admitted you're a
I
nerd, so that you
100%
probably appreciate that. Hopefully, you get to hear it if you listen back to this, but I walk to the train station basically is what I'm saying. It's about a I don't know how many yards they are, maybe I don't know, it's a couple football fields. It's not bad. It's not maybe 2 football fields, maybe 200 yards away, and, yeah, I just walk to the train, it takes me to South Station because it doesn't go past South Station.
Mhm,
You have to go get onto the other one to do that, but if ever I wanted to go like I saw, Sarah Evans at City Winery. If you ever heard of City
mhm.
Winery? And, that's in Boston. It's one of the places. It's like it's actually a pretty cool place. They have musical acts, blah, 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 and Sarah Evans was there one night, so I'm like, "Alright, I'm going to Sarah Evans." So I just hopped on the train, got off at South Station, walked to it's around the corner from the garden,
Okay.
the City Winery is, and back on the train and home, and it's just so convenient. I mean, you have to pay for it, obviously. I don't go enough to buy a pass, but I'll spend 20 bucks not to drive my car into Boston.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Not it's worth it. Totally worth it.
I saw that they got rid of the pit in Harvard Square. That was another place that I used to
I don't know that.
yeah, I
I don't know the pit.
so it's by the metro station. It's just that area that what, like, they have that Au Pan where they have the chess outside, and then next to that
Oh, I thought it was a bar. What oh, they did?
yeah, it's no, the pit is just that area, which has got the
What did they put there?
I don't know. I think they just I don't know, I read that they got rid I haven't been down. We were there in December, but it would look like it was just under construction. There was stuff going down there.
Oh. Hmm. So I haven't been to actual Boston in a long time.
Yeah, because, so Tufts has a metro now, which it didn't have before. I saw when I was back in town, so it's got its own metro stop,
Yeah.
but yeah, we went to Harvard Square as well, and, there are
Nice.
all sorts of tourists around Harvard Square, and then we went to, Tufts, and, like, there's nobody there. I'm like, "So this is cool I went to." Like, nobody's here taking pictures.
They didn't know it was coming back,
But it's
sorry.
got a nice view, but, like, Harvard has
It's a good view.
observatories and yeah.
I went to Howard Square. I don't go that often, but I saw they re-released The Godfather for, like, their 20th or something. I don't remember the actual date, but it was some milestone, and they re-released it at Howard Square, and I went into town and watched The Godfather on the big
Oh,
screen.
nice.
'Cause I couldn't do it. It was made in what, 72 or
Mhm.
something? I mean, I was 1, you were 2 probably, whatever, but, um, that's not a shot at you being older than me, by the way, it's just a fact. Um, um, and so I didn't even see The Godfather till I was in high school. So when it came out in the theater, I'm like, I'm gonna go see what it's like. And it's a horrible movie to see in the theater because there's no action. It's just all talk and bad gunplay. I mean, it's not like it's, the Marvel Adventures or anything like that or Star Wars. It's but it was fun. I liked it. It's one of my favorite
Did you
movies,
ever
so
read the book?
that Yo, yeah, yeah, the book is great
Yeah.
because it tells you. Oh, did you read the
Yeah,
book? Of course,
yeah.
yeah.
I was yeah, I got in trouble for reading the book in 5th grade.
What? Oh, because you were reading The Godfather in
Well,
5th
no, I was supposed
grade?
to be doing something. I was supposed to be doing some math thing, and I was doing it.
Oh, it was the fact that you were reading, not
Yeah,
doing
instead of
something
doing
else.
math,
So it
like,
wasn't the book. Look, the great thing about the Godfather book is that you watch the movie and you go, you go from Michael Corleone wiping his nose every 5 minutes because he got punched, he got whatever, he got cracked in the nose by Sollozzo, um, and no, not Sollozzo, the cop, who cares? Doesn't matter. Point being is that then you go to a scene, he's all better. The book has a whole entire chapter devoted to that and other things as well, but I mean, great, it's not a huge deal. You would just assume, okay, he
Right, right.
got better. It's been time, but the book covers way more than the movie. Its books are always better than the
Yeah,
movie. Let's be honest.
yeah.
But The Godfather's pretty close, though. It was a pretty
Yeah,
close
and
to
I think
to,
The
to the book
Godfather
as you
2 is
can be.
probably the best of the trilogy,
Yeah, I agree.
of the
I
movies,
agree.
but, it's always
Sure,
true the
sure, sure.
second one is always same with Star Wars.
Yeah, like I was gonna say Empire Strikes Back and Godfather 2 are the two main sequels that you could argue are better than the original.
Yeah.
And
Ted 2?
I
No.
It 2, what is
Ted
it? It 2? Nice. Huh?
Ted, the teddy bear?
Ted 2. I don't think I saw Ted
I
2. Is it
I was
good?
kidding. But yeah,
Yeah, I know you're kidding. I know you're kidding, but was it good?
I
I like Ted.
I like the first one. I don't remember the distinction between the 2. I was just trying to make it. It's a very Boston.
Just
I'm one of
just one movie, yeah.
I did have to sing Sweet Caroline, like, that was probably the funniest scene in the movie for me.
I
The
like
teddy
that.
bear
Um,
had to sing.
I'm a big fan of Dave Matthews Band. I go to all their concerts, not all of them, but a lot of them, and I'm going again in New Hampshire in July for my farewell concert, actually. I think it's gonna be the last one I go to. But they played Fenway 4 times. I went all 4 times. One night, they did Sweet Caroline in Fenway,
Nice.
but what people missed was that they did it after the 7th song. It was the 8th song
Like, I
because it's the 7th inning
yeah,
song. The break. So they did their homework enough to know that they should do it between 7 and 8, and they did that. Or between se well, it was technically the 8th song, but I thought that was a pretty nice thing. I didn't realize it till I was looking at the set list afterwards that they did that.
so everybody asked me, "Why is that the Boston song?" And I was like, "I don't really know."
There is a reason. I forget the reason. I've heard the answer to that question, and I don't remember it, but there is something to it.
Okay.
But that is a great question. Do people just accepted it?
Yeah, I mean, every wedding I go to, every time, like, all the Bostonians are like, "It's Sweet Caroline." Like, we all get it. Yeah, it's kinda funny.
Yeah, I think because other people are doing it too.
Yeah,
Like, I've watched UFC fights where they're singing Sweet Carolina for no apparent reason. I just think they like to go, "Ba, ba, ba," whatever, but it works. I mean, hey, we all do it.
it's a celebratory song that everybody knows the lyrics to, so
Yeah, but there is an actual reason, I don't know it, but, it might have to do with Manassas, I'm not sure.
good callback.
It could, but, Joyce, so there's nothing you wanna promote or anything, you are, is there anything else you wanna did we not talk about something you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I'm happy to, like, be cool enough to be on your podcast.
No, you're probably too cool, I might have to end here. This might have to be the last one. You've used up all the cool quota
Yeah, cool is
that I
not
have
usually a
left.
word that is associated with me, so I appreciate that.
You worked at the White House. That's cool enough for me, and I don't even like politics, but I know that it's a pretty cool thing that you did.
Yeah, that
And you retired at an age where you people don't retire, that's cool. And you're gonna be slinging out double mocha latte frappes with, half whip frozen cold foam soon, so that's even cooler
yeah, I don't
with the green
we'll
apron.
we'll see about that. I don't know if I'm coordinated enough to to be able to
Whoops, sorry.
pull one of those off, but yeah, I can't it's like COVID, everybody was making sourdough and gardening, and I was like, "Oh, for the love of God, if you see me post that I'm gardening, like, that you need to come rescue me 'cause I it's not something I can."
Take that fork thing out of my hand and right in
Yeah,
my
'cause I
throat.
just
Whatever that gardening thing is that
so I don't intend to be knitting or gardening or not that those are anything wrong with those, those just aren't things that I ca that I'm gonna be able to do.
I I couldn't do them either. But yeah, you're right, I remember that people were making sourdough. I wonder what was there a reason specifically sourdough?
Because you
I mean,
had
I
to have,
love
like, a
sourdough,
sourdough
but
starter, like, there was a whole process that you had to go through. I 'cause sourdough is not, you know, uh, it's a very specific thing, and you don't see it very
yeah.
often. You don't maybe at a deli, but yeah, sourdough was a big thing. So my
What did you do? What did you do for your co I started the podcast during COVID,
I
so that's my
I
thing.
did a
What
lot of
did you do?
I got my master's in social work.
Oh, right, that's right, I did a
I
little
know a
thing. I
thing.
got a master's
I do a lot of
and a
walking.
degree.
I do a lot of walking. So I okay, that's there's one thing I can promote is, I
I'll offer help.
I'm a breast cancer survivor, which is
Oh, I didn't know
yeah.
that.
I was
Oh,
di
good for
I
you.
was diagnosed in,
Well, not good for you. Is it good for you or not
yeah,
good
that I'm
for
a
you? Well, you're a
survivor, yeah,
survivor,
that's
that's good for you. Okay, that's good for you,
yeah.
that's good for you.
So I was diagnosed when I was 36, so I was very early, and I didn't have a history, I just went and got a baseline mammogram, which is uncommon because most people don't get them until they're 40, so this is my public service announcement to get your mammogram, and they found it, and they found it early, thankfully, so but I did the whole thing of I did a lumpectomy, they took the tumor out, and I did radiation, and I did chemotherapy, then I was on tamoxifen, which is a drug that's, you know, kinda suppresses the, cancer from interacting with the estrogen, which was mine was estrogen positive. So, knock on wood, haven't had haven't had a
We'll do it.
recurrence. But so every year I do the Susan Komen breast cancer walk, 60 miles, and I get a team together. It's 3 days, 20 miles a day. This year we're doing it in San Diego, and, so I'll put that
Nice.
on social media soon for folks that would like to donate, but for all of you out there, particularly if you have, you're, a lady or have a lady in your life, like, please make sure that they get their screenings because mine was pretty aggressive, and they caught it early enough that they were able to, dispense with it without, you know, too much trouble, and it didn't recur. But if I had waited like till I was 40 to get my mammogram, it would have been like a stage 4 situation. So I feel very
Oh,
blessed that they caught it and caught it early. So
and you did it on a whim? Or you like, what made you
no, wait. So my physician, like I was just doing my regular, and I'm not great at going to the doctor, but my doctor said, "Hey, you know, you should go get your mammogram." I was like, "Bitch, I'm not 40. Like, who are you telling me to do that?" And
Ooh, what are you
yeah, I
saying? I don't
know
look 40.
and she said, "No, no, you get your baseline now so that they have something to compare it to after." And just randomly, because I probably would have just put it off, but you know, I took her up on the advice, and I, you know, got the mammogram, and then they were like, "Oh, we have to do a biopsy." And I didn't think I thought it was just a mistake, so I went to the biopsy by myself. I was just like which is, like, super
Oh, wow.
painful. And I came back, and then they called me and said, you know, "Hey, just to let you know, like, you have to come back in, you've got cancer." And I was about to go on a trip, and I actually went to Siberia, and I had, like I had, like, a trip to Siberia, like, for work, and my husband at the time was like, why are you going to Russia?" I'm like, "It's my job, like, I have to do this, it's not like they're gonna see me any sooner." Um, in hindsight, that was dumb because I was emotionally I was in a wreck that whole week. Um
Well,
And the
yeah, no.
Russians were very because we were meeting with the Russians, and they were
Yeah, Russians are known for their sympathetic
they
attitudes.
actually were
Yes,
super
absolutely. No, I'm teasing,
they were
I'm teasing, I'm
actually
sure they were,
super,
I'm just
super
teasing.
sympathetic. Like, I think they're sympathetic in the, like, personal instance, right? Maybe less sympathetic in the grand scheme of things, but, like, they're very, yeah, warm people,
It's all the fur they wear.
further, yeah, and they live in cold places, but, yeah,
Yes, it has to be
yeah,
warm.
gotta be warm somehow. Um, so, yeah, that's my public service announcement is get your mammograms, support breast cancer research, because it's pretty prevalent, like, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed in their lifetime. That's a lot.
Yikes. In this year, it's in San Diego, where have you done it before?
So, I've been doing it since I got diagnosed. So 2007 was the first time. We used to do the Avon one, which is a little bit shorter, but we've done Boston, Chicago, Minneapolis, San Diego. So this year was a choice between Dallas and San Diego, and I just, I don't I don't love Dallas. I've done San Diego a few times, it's gorgeous. Um, Houston, we've done that before. San Francisco once, which I don't recommend because that was lots of hills,
Why? Oh, it's hilly.
really.
Oh, I was gonna say, looks beautiful up
Yeah, it
there,
was beautiful,
but it's
but it's
hilly,
super
and
hilly. But San Diego is, like, perfect weather. It's generally 70 degrees, it's sunny. They take you along the beach one day, they take you to Old Town, um, and it's a really, it's a good experience because, 1, we raise money, so we probably raise $50,000 every year we do it, and we've been doing it since 2007, so we've raised a lot of money over the years. Because again, I have a team and, um, we do a number of fundraisers as well as social media fundraising. But for me, it's also psychological because at some point they're like, how many survivors are here who are like 1 year out, 2 years out? And then I'm up, 15 years. When I see the 30 years, I'm like, okay, that makes me feel good. And then, now it's also I feel a little bit superstitious if I don't walk, it's gonna recur. So
oh,
it's a reminder
so you
that,
ha
1, that you can do it because 60 miles is a lot. So it's the
it
whole idea
is.
of, like, mind over matter and putting one foot in front of the other, and just to remind you of how resilient your body is. I think that was and your mind, and that's part of the reason why I do it, but it's good.
I don't even drive 60 miles in 3 days, and you're gonna be walking it, that's insane.
Yeah,
But not insane, good insane, you know what I mean?
it's insane.
That's, yeah, exactly, exactly. Now do you, so you do vote on the location, that's pretty good.
Yeah, our team I get the deciding vote because it's my team. It's named after me, um,
Fair enough.
but
Joyce's
But
team.
we try to alternate it. So San Diego's kind of their big one. So what we try to do is like San Diego, and then the next year we do someplace else. They do one in New England. The problem is they do it in August. And the idea of walking
Oy.
20 miles a day in Boston is crazy. Last year we did
Ooh.
Denver and it was hot. And that was in September. Boston in August, I would be miserable.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really I think the best month would be I don't know, I
May,
mean,
April, October.
maybe oh, the rain though, like, right now it's raining
Yeah,
out
it's
here
raining.
now, so you can't I guess you can't win. You don't wanna do it in July. I guess I would take August over July
Yeah.
maybe. Maybe June? I don't
We did
know.
it 1 year in Boston. It was the Avon Walk, it wasn't Komen, and they did it they might have done it.
Well, it doesn't have to be does it have to be summer? Because 'Cause I'm thinking now that I think about it, like, September and October are great
I
weather
think it's
to
just
do it.
because, like, it costs them a lot of money to host it, so I think the city has to agree to it, and so if there's other stuff going on, there's probably a lot of stuff going on in September in Boston. Yeah, sometimes there's baseball in September in Boston.
That's true, but I just have a hard time saying, "You know what? Let's take the cancer patients and let them walk in the August heat. Let's do that.
It doesn't make
Let's let them do that. They're tough. They can take it. They've been through worse. I mean, what's the what I don't just don't that's bizarre to
Yeah.
me. I don't know. I say you do it in September and October and you go to a game afterwards for free. That's what you should do. That should be your final destination. Well,
Yeah,
not the
maybe, yeah.
movie. Not the movie. There's gotta be a better way to say that, right? Yeah. I'll say I'll reword that. I'll edit that one out. But you end up at Fenway and you go to the game.
That would be great. Actually ending up at a sports stadium is I think one year we did Chicago and we ended up, like, where the Bears play. But we did
Nice.
pass Wrigley, which was fun. The other thing is when you're walking through the city and there's a big crowd, that's just gets kinda crazy. Denver was interesting, like, they had us they because each day they bus us to a different place, and we went to Boulder for part of it. It was really pretty up there. I'd never, been to Boulder. I've been to Colorado Springs, but not to Boulder. Some beautiful places in these US of A.
Yeah, right. I should go to more places. To be honest, I haven't been to that many. But what was your favorite walk? Not the actual walk, the location. What was your favorite place to walk so far?
Oh. So I'll say it's hard. So, honestly, like, the first year we did Komen, we did it in Minnesota, Twin Cities, and while all of the like, Boston is nostalgic and Chicago is fun and San Diego is beautiful, Minnesota nice is a thing. Like, the people
Really?
came out because they know the route, like, they tell people the route beforehand. People came out and they gave us, like, free ice cream and, roses and, like, they just came out wherever we went, and they were so super, super nice. And that made a big difference because we were nervous about doing the 60-mile because the Avon Walk was, like, 26 miles the first day, 13 the second, so, like, a marathon and a half marathon. And so Komen is 3 days, 20 miles, which is more all told, but 26 is a lot in one day. So we just
Yeah.
didn't know what to expect, and we went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and they were just super, super, super nice, and it felt, small town, and, like, everybody was cheering for us, and, people came out and they told the stories of their moms or their sisters or whoever that they lost to breast cancer, and so they would come out and thank us for walking for their friends, and, yeah, it was super emotional, and it's just a pretty happy place to be.
That's cool. There's 2 things that Minnesota reminds me of, not sport related, and one of them is the Juicy Lucy.
Oh,
Did you have one of those when you were there? The
did
burger?
not have heard about them. They talked about them, I don't think I had one. That's the one that's
Okay,
stuffed
well,
with
they make
the
it
cheese?
it's yeah, 2 burgers with cheese in
Yeah.
the middle, boom, and it's just Juicy Lucy, and, you just described Rose Nyland from the Golden Girls. She's from St. Olaf in
Yeah.
Minnesota. So I can believe what everything you said because that's the Rose's character is based on a Minnesotian or
Yeah,
Minnesotan?
Minnesota?
Who cares?
Minnesota? Minnesota?
Yeah, I don't know. I wanna throw an I in there.
There is
Minnesota.
like, a very like, they have also, like, weird art, interesting art, like, there's one giant spoon with a cherry stuck on it that, for whatever reason, I remember from walking by. It was just this huge sculpture of a long spoon with a cherry on it, and then,
Huh.
oh, I can't remember the TV show where, Mary Tyler Moore so Mary Tyler Moore is also was from there, and so they have a statue of her, you know, in, um
Oh, that's cool.
In Minneapolis, so yeah, like, all the
Wow.
secret spots of Minneapolis that you didn't know existed.
Wow. Yeah, right. I know about the Juicy Lucy, that's about it.
Yeah,
Not on sport
but
related, of
it was just
course.
very like, there's a lot of lakes there too. There's a lot of lakes.
Did you partake in
No, we
Lake?
walked by lakes and it was nice, right, right. The only problem
You
with
were
lakes is
tempted to
mosquitoes,
jump in?
but
Is what?
mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah. Eesh. No, thanks. No, thanks.
Better than black flies.
What Yes, true. That is true. Black flies are the worst. Horse flies and black flies, and it's black flies at the beach are the most annoying thing in the history of life.
This describes, like, every summer in New Hampshire.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. Well, I hope you have a great time this weekend. I hope you do all kinds of fun things, and I thank you for being on here. This is a luxury for me because I'm having to keep my podcast to, like, an hour, a little over because my machine has been acting up on me. I'll still do the, um, in-person interviews without the YouTube, but this is a great time to do this, and hopefully I can keep doing it, but, yeah, it's been almost how long do you think it's been? Oh, you looking at the clock? Do you know?
I did just glance at the clock, so I thought it was we just hit over an hour, but I think it's almost 2?
It's almost 2 hours. See, but Yes, and that's the thing. It goes by. It really goes
Yeah,
by. Yeah, it's almost 2 hours. I haven't been able to do 2 hours in a long time, so it's fun. It's easy to do,
yeah.
and, like, I tell people, "How long is it gonna be?" I don't know. I just aim for a half an hour. If I can get past 30 minutes, I stop looking at the clock, and it ends when it ends.
Apparently, I'm a little
And
chatty. I apologize.
no, it's great. Listen, I don't want somebody on here who's not wanting to talk.
Yeah,
When I asked you to do this and you said, "Well, I do love to talk," I'm like, "This is gonna be great," because that's the goal is to hear you, not me. If I'm doing all the talking,
yeah.
yeah, that defeats the purpose,
Well,
but
if you ever wanna do a
no,
repeat, I got stories, just
I would I absolutely, absolutely, and I was gonna say, I say in person, but this is even better because you're more comfortable, you're home. It's it's a lot of fun. I got to meet the cat. This is
yeah.
great.
She
Yeah,
usually jumps up in my lap. I don't know where there must be food around somewhere. So, I do have to ask you, though, so what was the most surprising thing that I said?
breast cancer.
Oh, I thought it was that we skipped school.
Well, it would have been had you not I didn't know you had breast cancer. But no, the most surprising thing was is it probably was skip school. I forgot about that. But yes, skip school was definitely a
Yeah,
surprise to
and
me
I don't
because
like,
I didn't picture it. I didn't picture you
if
skipping
I
school. You
listed
didn't
the
it
people
is
who were with us, you'd be like, "Oh, interesting."
it'd be even yeah, but that's great though. I loved it. I love that you did that because I just I never judged anyone for what they did, but I just certain people skip school. I think people probably think that I skipped school, but I didn't. So there's a yin and a yang there because I just wouldn't have said if I had to check a box, I'd say, "No, she never skipped school."
Yeah. I
So
I think, the longer I live, because 'cause we're old now, I think that the anything I regret is not doing something that I could have done that would have been, like, outside the box, right? Doing something unexpected, whether it's unexpected by other people or unexpected by yourself. I think, that's the spice of life, right? Like, doing the thing that nobody expects you to do, including yourself,
yeah.
yeah, going out there and taking risks.
Wow, good for you. Do you have an Instagram account or anything? Do you wanna promote like that or
Do have an Instagram
some
account, but I
some
don't know how to.
you don't know what it is. Of
I
course,
think
I
it's
don't
probably
know what
Joy
it is either.
Connery. When I was in the Peace Corps, there was another older lady named Joyce, and so Joy that was, like, my Peace Corps name, and so I think that's a lot of my, social media is Joy Connery. I have a Blue Sky account too, but that's I think Joy Corky.
What's what's Blue Sky?
Blue Sky is kind of the alternative to X.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Threads. I see, now it's like an old man. When I was a kid, we didn't have X. We X were videos. They weren't
I
Twi
still call it Twitter.
but,
Like
I call it
yeah,
Twitter.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just call it
So,
Twitter.
like, what do you call it when you do like, what like, you tweet when you put it on Twitter, what do you call it when you put it on X? Like, I X'd? Like,
I
I
know.
like, X'd? Like,
I hey, look at us. We're Xing. I don't know. Yeah, right, right. So, I, I don't know. I've always called it Twitter. I just always will. I don't care about it's just because. It's nothing to do with who owns X or doesn't own X. It's just about that's what I've always called it.
yeah, that
I always call my friend's parents Mrs. whoever they are because that's what I've always called you. They're always like, "No, call me." I can't. That's how I know you. You're Mrs. blah blah blah.
I will always call
That's an unfortunate last name.
I will always call tissues Kleenex too, because
Yes, well, and that's the funny thing about it. Like Band-Aids aren't Band-Aids; they're adhesive strips. It's
right,
a
like,
brand.
anyone said a Hazen strip to me, I'd be like, Where are you from?"
Or a cotton swab. Give me a
Yeah,
Q-tip, idiot. That's all I want. I want a
exactly,
Q-tip.
exactly,
Yeah, those are like the 3 biggest. Kleenex, Q-tip, and Band-Aids are the 3 things that aren't really you're just saying names, brands.
right.
That's it. It's
So
not what
what
they
you
are.
need to do is get Noonan to replace podcast.
Yeah, right. Why not? I'll see how that works. Hey, listen, I know an inn at the White House. I can make this pass. This could be good. This could be good for me. We'll work together on that. But Joyce, just hang on for 1 second before we go. You know what? It's only a minute and a half till 2 hours. Tell me one of your favorite childhood stories.
One of my favorite childhood stories. That's skipping school is a pretty good. I guess that wasn't childhood.
That is good, though. That's
That
childhood.
that
Your high
was
school years are childhood.
childhood. So I will tell you at junior high. This is not my favorite story. It's kind of a funny story about gym class. I think it was junior high, and it was Chris McGrew. She's never probably will never forgive me for it, but
Right.
We were trying to avoid something we were doing at gym, so we said, "Well, we'll just go hit tennis balls on the tennis court." They're like, "Yeah, yeah, we you can go do that," like, 'cause we were kinda
You're
honor
doing
student
something.
kids, they let us do things that they probably shouldn't have because we were not supervised. So we were just, like, knocking tennis balls back and forth, and, we were jumping the net, right? We just, like, jump over the net, which, in hindsight, I'm like, I'm surprised I had that much coordination. But it started to rain, and I jumped over the net, and I turned my back and started walking toward the school, and Chris jumped over the net and ended up with a broken arm. And I felt so because it was slippery and it was raining, and so she didn't quite make it over the net. And, today, somebody would have sued the school. Like, something would have happened, but
Yeah,
we were just
right.
like,
See that,
"Oh,
yeah,
yeah, we were just idiots, and this is what we did." And poor
because you had accountability, that's
poor
why.
Chris suffered for it. I just felt so bad. But, yeah, we were avoiding something in gym. It might have been, field hockey or something that we decided, like, no, we're just too cool for school. We're just gonna, like, knock some tennis balls back and forth, like, yeah.
I love that you refer to it as knocking tennis balls
Yeah,
around.
because
It's
it
great.
certainly wasn't playing tennis, because that's not what it looked like, and then we
That's funny.
decided, like, "Ooh, look how sporty we are. We can jump the net," and until we couldn't.
Well, one of us can.
Um, yeah, there, but for the grace of God, that was me that broke the bone going over the net, but that was a pretty memorable experience.
Wow. That's funny, though.
Yeah.
Just because you would be better off to do what I wish I knew what you were trying to avoid, because it's probably well, maybe if it was
It
field
could have been
hockey,
field hockey 'cause
they
we were out I think it was outside. It was one of the group sports, and, I was not an an athlete. I was one of the people that always got chosen last for some of those things, like, could miss a
eh,
kickball when it was,
kickball was my favorite game. It really was. Kickball's the best.
but I started getting
Some
bad. Like, the older I got, I realized, like, I just need to I think I was avoiding the things because I was afraid of failing. And then once you embrace the fact that you're not gonna be good at something at the beginning, you can yeah, you can do it.
there's no pressure.
Right, right.
You're expecting not to do well, so what's the worst that can happen? I see you, you see me no, there's no singing. Um, golf. Have you ever golfed? I would believe you if you told me you
I
did.
so I have
You just laughed, you just
I
laughed.
so I so I do in charity events where it's a scramble. So, like, a scramble with, like, which means best ball, like, you
Oh, take 3 people do it and take the best shot.
and
Okay.
honestly, it's because I'm in the nuclear field, and a lot of people play golf, right? And so,
There's a thing called nuclear golf, isn't there?
uh is there?
I think there might be, I don't know, it's not really nuclear, I think they just
It
call it
could
that,
be.
but
So
I've heard the
so,
term.
it's dominated by old white men. Like, I'm there's no other way to like, the field is dominated by and so they always have, like, conferences with golf tournaments and things like that. So I've done a few, so I did a few charity golf tournaments where, like and you have to use one of your balls, and I'm not very good at putting, and I can't hit very far, but the women's tee's closer, and I can hit straight. So they always use the
Ooh,
one of
that's
my golf balls because I can always go straight, and then I bring the good bourbon. Like, I feel like that's my
oh!
contribution is
I
I
You
bring the
gotta bring
Elijah
something to the
Craig in a
party.
flask, right? Like,
You're an MVP. That's the way
yeah.
they see it.
So
Listen,
so
we'll take Joyce. You're the first pick.
so I literally have a trophy for a golf tournament that we did where, like, one of the trophies is longest drive for female. There were 3 of us. Right, so I got the longest drive, and I got, like, last place. So same tournament.
It's
If
alright. It's
so
alright. That just goes to show your range.
yeah, exactly. So it's not yeah, golf is not my thing. I ran for a little, like, after 5 years after cancer. It's my 5th year anniversary, which is a milestone, and I told my husband at the time, I was like, "I think I'm going to run the Army 10 miler to celebrate the fact that I'm 5 years in remission." He's like,
Wow.
"Eh, maybe start with 5K?" I was like, "No, no." Like, "I wanna do the Army 10
No, no.
miler." And then I told Janet, and Janet married Julia, and Janet's like, "Why don't you just get a tattoo?" And I was like, "Oh, that would've been easier too." So I, like I I started out, like, just doing these training runs, and I was doing the Army 10 miler, which is a great run. It's in DC. For any of you runners out there, like I highly encourage you to do it. It's a ton of people. It's a lot of fun. I'm not a great runner, right? So I'm plodding. Like I think the first year I did it, I was like 13-minute miles. But I was like,
It's alright.
but my goal was to start and finish. So I get to like mile 8 and I'm struggling. And my my ex is like, come on, you can do this, right? And I'm like, you're not helping right now. But then I see all the wounded warriors, God bless them, like with with uh the leg, the missing limbs and what have you, and carrying flags and in the flag, and they're running toward the end, and they're running to the end. And I looked at them like, "Ah, shit, I gotta finish." Like if they can do it, I can do it. And I was just like, and I crossed the
That
finish
mo
line.
you had to find motivation
Yeah.
somewhere, and you did. Good for
And so for
you.
the next
Good for
couple of
you.
years, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing a race every month," and I did a half marathon or 2, and yeah, that kinda went by the wayside after a while, but I did it for a short period of time. I was a runner.
See, you can say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Never did
I
a
love it.
marathon because I felt like it would do too much damage.
26 miles, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I'll walk 26 miles, but it just
Not in a row.
it depends on what's at the end of it. Um,
Yeah, right, that's fair, that's fair.
and usually when I'm running, if somebody's chasing me, I go a little bit faster.
See? But they can't go 26, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
but 13, I never understood, like, why is it you have a 5K and then a 10K, then a 10 miler, then a half marathon is 13 miles, and then you go to 26. Like, that just seems like a crazy jump. Why don't you have, like, a
It
15
it
miler?
there's no rhyme or reason.
Like 13 and then
I
26?
I I don't know.
Do you run?
I never I not I haven't ran in a long time, but so I guess the answer is no. I walk briskly. Does that
And you
count?
lift heavy things?
I pick them up and put them down.
Are you gonna
I
revise the
used to
person in
lift I
front
used
for, like
no, it sounds like a that's actually that was Saturday Night Live, I think. Oh, it was a commercial. Someone did that commercial. It was for a gym, and it was some meathead. He picks them up and put them down. That's what it was. But I guess I am using the Hans and Franz voice just 'cause it's the only weightlifting voice I know. I used to work out all the time religiously, go heavy, whatever, blah, 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 but yeah, just it's one of those things where I just lost interest.
Mm.
It's where am I going with this? I'm not gonna compete. I'm not in the I don't I'm not interested in competing professionally.
Craig Torres, isn't he a competitor?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to work out with him actually. You wanna know something he called me he dubbed the name. Some people know me as well, not know me as, but they refer to me as Calfzilla. And Craig Torres is the one that called because Craig Torres used to get mad at me because he works out everything and he's got everything of him is jacked except his calves. So when he would be, goofing off, I'd flex my calves at him, and then that would he'd get pissed off because it's the only thing possible I could compete with him in is the calves
Yeah, he's
because
and
he's
Paul
he's a
Ardro
he's an
too, he
animal.
was doing some
Paul Audro is doing it, yeah. I never worked out with him. We weren't the same time, but, yeah, I've seen pictures of him too. He looked good as well.
yeah.
I just had no desire to take it further. Like, those guys were committed, because I would hang out with them. I'd work out with them and all this stuff, and then they'd go to compete, and they'd be miserable because they're depleting carbs, their skin is paper thin. They're pricks to be around at the time. They really are, and they'll tell you that. The reason they actually go to the show is so they can go to the steak dinner afterwards. That's the favorite part of their day is going to the steak dinner afterwards. They're miserable because 'cause they're cranky, that's why, it's just I was like, "I'm not doing
So
that.
d
I
and
don't care enough."
they oil, right? Right, for when they fly,
Yeah, they oil,
do they self-tan too?
yeah, yep, this I'm not well, we talked about Manassas, I guess I can tell you this story too. I've coated a few people with the whatever you wanna call that stuff there.
Yeah. It looks like you
Um,
murdered an Oompa
but
Loompa
yeah
in the room afterwards.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's so funny because it's so not a tan well, most times it's not a tan color. You're basically
Sure.
either dark brown or orange, yeah, is what it really looks
Yeah.
like. But it's good for the lights, you have to do it. And I don't wanna do that either. I just like, look, I just have fun working out. That's where I was in life, so it wasn't then I just like, "Alright, you guys go." I've been to maybe 1 or 2 of the
Mhm.
competitions, and that's really about it. And even that's kind of you're just sitting there looking at people flex. I'm like, "What?" I could be playing softball or something instead of it's like and then you look at these guys on stage and they're huge, and this is what kind of threw me for a loop because they're by themselves and they're all jacked, and then they get off the stage and you go, "Hey," they're like 3 feet smaller than you are, shorter than you are. It's like, "What? You look like a giant on stage." That's why you can only do it once at a time because it's so funny to see the difference. You're like, "Oh my god." Like, the people would come up to hair on me. I'm like, "Dude, you look like" it's such a, like a perception thing. It's incredible. I'm glad I did it. It was fun to do. I mean, I didn't hate any of it,
Mhm.
but, um, it just wasn't for me. I knew I wasn't gonna looking for a career in bodybuilding, and good for them. I don't know if Craig ever straight he was all natural for a while. I don't know if he still is. It's not fair to say that he isn't, but I don't as far as I know, he is, but I think I read him say something about where he strayed because he got sick of being the only all natural person,
Mm.
which I can understand. So I
They
don't
get
know if that's true or
endorsements and stuff for that too, like a regular sports person?
I don't know if Craig got any or not, but he's friends with all those guys. He's always talking I'm not always talking about, but I've seen him mention, my good friend, this guy who's Jay Cutler, whether it be Jake not the quarterback, but there's a bodybuilder, Jay Cutler, or, Ronnie Coleman, all these people. Um, so I don't know if Craig got endorsements, but I mean, just his biceps alone, I mean, they're freakish. I'm sure you've seen them. Even now, he put something on there on Facebook
How do you buy
recently
shirts?
about how it
How do you buy
what?
shirts? Like, how do how do the shirts
You
fit you?
you I when you look like that, you don't wear a shirt. I mean, let's be
There
honest.
you
I don't
go.
know. If I look like that, you wouldn't be seeing this on me right now.
It's world's
You'd
most
be like this,
awkward
"Look over the
podcast. I
we're
don't like
going over there now." Yeah, it's right. Yeah, I mean, I should have Craig on. We can talk about this, but, it's a good sport. Everyone's really nice. There's no real I'm not saying there's no competition, but it's not cutthroat. Like, people aren't it's not like behind the scenes there. You help each other out. Like, I've never been to a gym and asked somebody for help and not gotten it or got an attitude about doing it, whether they're high level or low level or my level, whatever. Everyone's always looking to help, and the community is really good too. I'm sure there's bad apples in every community, but there's a train coming now. Um, it's just they're just always happy and they want to help you. Iron sharpens iron.
Mhm.
If I'm doing a lot, they wanna, help me and I help them and just to compete, and it was fun. I have a pretty cool story about, the gym. My favorite gym thing was I was gonna attempt to squat 500 pounds, and that involved this is the funny part, it involves 4 plates on each side in the bar, but that only equals 498 pounds. Or 495 pounds. So you have these giant 45 pounds, and you gotta put these little 2.5 pound weights on each side just to make it 5 so you can say it's 500, but it seems just so stupid, but you gotta do it. And it was a gym in Woburn down past Mishawaka. If you go down the Woburn Mall and you go up the hill, you go to the end, there was a gym there. I think there's still a gym there. And, the squatting rack was facing the wall furthest away, so I get in and it was one of those moments where you've seen it in movies, and it really happened to me. I was doing it, and I got down, and I heard nothing, like, I heard dead silence, and then I got up, and then you heard it turns out people were at were w the whole they were all because you 'cause you're on display, sort of. They were watching because they know when you're doing something out of the ordinary, and once you put those little 2.5 pounds on there, they know you're going for 500. So I did it, but it was just funny to see. It was like a movie moment where you hear nothing, and then the din gradually rises up to normal conversation level, whatever. I thought it was in my head, and they're like, "No, dude, they were all watching you." That's what it was. So it was pretty cool to know that. Thank God I did it because that would have been embarrassing if
Yeah,
I, fell or. But I think Craig Torres was there. I don't remember if he was or not.
that's pretty
But
cool.
yeah, no, it was fun. But I was only interested in doing that. I wasn't interested in cutting and shredding and blah blah blah.
But you set a goal
And
and
I only did it once though. I didn't work out with 500 pounds. That's insane. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I wanted to do it once. That was my goal. I did it. Okay, thanks. Next. But but like curls were my worst. exercise. I love doing shoulders and legs, basically.
Hmm.
I did it all, but I love doing legs and shoulders for some reason.
So I just do the like, I don't do the barbells. I just do the
The
yeah,
free weight, yeah, the curls. That's good because you could alternate and you can do all kinds of
yeah, and
stuff
they
with
make
that.
you
That's
do it,
actually
like, on
smart.
one leg and, I'm like, yeah, Bosu ball, like,
Right, right. Yeah, no, there's all kinds of different ways to work out, and whatever works for you is working, and that's great. At least you're doing something. That's awesome.
Yeah, but after chemo, like, they said bone density was gonna be an issue, so, walking is great for that, but there's like, "You should do a weight-bearing exercise," and I knew, like, I'm not I wouldn't be able to go to the gym and know what to do or, like, understand how many to do or what have you, so the going to a class where they tell you is probably probably what I gonna be
Yeah,
capable of, and to
that's why they're there.
yeah,
And if it makes you more comfortable, and you find out when you start doing that, whatever they program you to do, you'll know it real quick what you like and what you don't like and what's working, what's not working, and you can adjust it. There's no there's no perfect script.
right, and sometimes
It's
you're
what
gonna
works
go
for
for the
you.
big rack and you're gonna pull out a 40-pound, dumbbell and do something, and
Yeah,
some days you're gonna be like, "Oh, that 15 is looking real good." Like, I think
I'll
that's
take
it.
I'll
That's all I'm doing.
I'll take those 2.5s. Give me
Yeah,
those
give me 2 and
2.5s.
a
I'll do
halves, and
that.
I was like
Yeah, that's all. There's nothing wrong with that. I've done those. You do that for, like, that's what they do for when you wanna tone. You put away the heavy weights and you do you take a lightweight, you do it more
yeah.
reps, and that gives you more
So have you ever tried
tone.
Pilates? I'm guessing not, but have you tried Pilates?
I think I tried it. I do remember I was no good at it.
I did it once, and I was like, "This is not." It's very slow, right? And it's such tiny, tiny, tiny muscle movements. I was like, this is not for me. I'm not a dancer, not those micro movements, like, where you have to, like, just stand and hold things. I'm like, "This is like I think they do this for torture." Like, I don't I don't think we're built to do this. I don't
Right.
understand how
B
you do
Back in Russia.
Yeah,
No, that's
exactly.
it's yeah, I did try it. I would try anything in that field just because it's works things that you don't normally do. That's the only good thing about it is that you realize, "Whoa, there's a muscle back there. I didn't know
Yeah.
that, and I gotta work on it now."
Yoga's kind of I think the next thing that I need to go back to because I have no flexibility now. Everything hurts, so I feel like maybe yoga.
Have you done it before? You said go back I think you said go back to it. Did you mean,
Yeah,
like,
I did it before, but
back to
I
the
know
drawing board or back to
yeah, I never with any discipline because a lot of times yoga is also about breath work and meditation and all things work require quiet minds, and I do not have a quiet mind. Um,
And I've been breathing for 50 years. It's been working. I'm fine.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good.
and I don't breathe. Like everybody's like, you
And I don't
you
breathe.
need to breathe. Like this is your
You
problem.
should. You really
Yeah,
should. Try that. It
breathing.
works. A lot of people like
Yeah,
it.
it's a thing. Um,
It's recommended.
but I happen to be an uptight person. I don't I'm not a calm Zen like person, but I feel like I need to maybe tap into that to make the next couple of years work.
Yeah. I didn't know you were uptight. I didn't see you as uptight. But you'd know better than I would.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just get like a lot of things in my head all at the same time. Like I'm very active. I'm doing
We've had some high pressure jobs though. You've I
yeah,
mean, listen, people don't take a job at the White House because it's easy and there's no stress. So now that I think about it, I guess I can see it, but you're not showing it here. That's good.
yeah. I don't. Well,
At least I'm not stressing you
yeah,
out.
no, no, no. I think yeah, you have to be able to kind of take things in stride. One of the cool things I got to work at the White House was so I worked in the Bush administration at the very end, right? And I was doing counterterrorism and nuclear nonproliferation type things. And then
You were Jack Bauer before Jack Bauer.
yeah, it's not as thrilling.
Chloe, damn it, Chloe.
But Bush had a very small National Security Council. So I was on the National Security Council, and there were like between 4 or 5 people in my office, very very small. And it was right after it kind of like my bout with cancer, and I was working for a political appointee at the Energy Department, and he said, "Hey, there's a position over at the White House. Would you be interested in working at the National Security Council?" And I was like, Oh, no, it never occurred. Of course I would, like, that's my background, like, yes, yes! And
Yes.
so he said, "Well, the position that's open is the North Korea job." And I was like, "Oh." And I thought about it, and I said, "Give me 24 hours." And I came back to him, I was like, "Look, I think this is a super important job. My background is in Russia, Central Asia, Middle East, like, that's my wheelhouse in terms of geography, and I do, like and I'm not focused on like, I'm not very good at one thing. North Korea is a one issue that many facets, but it's kind of a one issue, one country with again, you need to have allies to deal with it." But I was like, "This is not my wheelhouse. I don't think it would serve the president for me to take that job." But and this is one of the times I self-advocate, I was like, "But this other job that this other person has that's got all these other like it's the IAEA and it's, commercial nuclear energy and it's counterterrorism and it's pack nuke and it's all the that job comes open, I'm your girl." So the next, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, it came open. He's like, "Okay, well, you're gonna go for your interview at the White House." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like, "Who am I interviewing with?" He's like, "Oh, the national security advisor." I'm like, "Oh." So, the woman
No pressure.
whose job it was, like, she brought me over to the West Wing to sit on the couch and, like, in the West Wing, and I'm like, look
With
like some
Allison
sort
Janney?
of looking around like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" Um,
Right.
and then she leaves, and she's like, I'm like, "Where are you going?" She's like, "Well, it's your interview, like, you go knock yourself out."
I've already got the
And
job.
so they kinda brought me down there, and there were, like, 6 people standing around, and I was like, Hi." And so I had my resume, and this was actually a very cool thing because so Steve Hadley at the time was the national security advisor. It had been Condoleezza Rice, if you remember that name, so she went to the State Department.
I
So
do.
Steve was the national security advisor, and then he had, Deputy Jim Jeffries, who's from Malden, Massachusetts.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
and,
Wow.
Ambassador Jim Jeffries. So I start the interview with Steve Hadley, who is the nicest man I have ever met in my like, just super, super kind man. So he's like, "Joyce, tell me about yourself. I wanna know your family value like, I wanna know who you are, that's the most important thing." So we start talking and the phone rings, and he picks it up and he's like, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll be right there, sir." He hangs up the phone, he looks at me, he's like, "I am so sorry. That was the president, and we need to rehearse for the State of the Union," or whatever it was he was doing. Is like, "And then there's nothing more important to me than this." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's more important. I've heard George W. speak, like, go do that." Right? Like, so he leaves, and then Jim Jeffries is there, and he's kind of not that he's not nice, but he's Malden, right? Like, he's got all the edges
He's
that you
Malden.
would imagine. He's like, "Can you tell me something that this president has done that you didn't like?"
Oh,
And I
boy.
was like, all these things are going through my head, Iraq war, like, so it's like, there's a lot. And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you mean within the realm of my job?" He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you can answer it like that." So I don't know. I did some jujitsu, what have you, and they knew I was a Democrat, right? They knew my politics, not because again, as a civil servant, you just do, what's asked of you in that field. But I wasn't like a campaign. I would had nothing to do with the W presidency. So, and my boss and I, in my old job, he who was a political appointee, he knew kind of where my politics were. So they hired me because I was in their opinion, the best person for the job. So I go and I work for the Bush White House, and it was fascinating and interesting. And did, President Bush was a super nice guy, like very personable. I have had to brief him a couple of times, and he's smart, super smart. People didn't see that about him because he was also very casual and personable. Took great care of his people. So then the election happens, and then we're waiting to see kind of what happens next. And we're civil servants, so we get to stay, and then the next administration decides if they keep you or not, or what they're going to do with you. But they take away all of your files, right? So this is why, I don't want to get into politics, but this is why like Signalgate's such a big thing, is because everything that's pre-decisional is a presidential record. And you don't get to keep it administration. It gets boxed up, archived, sent off to some other place to go to a presidential library somewhere. So all of my notes, all of my emails, all of my whatever I did that whole time I was there, whoosh, got whisked away. I could only keep
Oh,
documents that weren't like policy documents at all. So I could keep I think I kept 3 documents, and they were all Intel products that I was able to keep on the high side on the classified side of my system. They weren't like, they had no policy implications, they were just straight intelligence documents that I needed for issues that were gonna overlap. And then we prepared, like, lots and lots of briefing papers for the next team. The Bush administration did a beautiful job of handing over to the Obama administration all the things they needed to succeed. And then the day after inauguration, we go in, you turn on your computer, no emails. Now, I'm somebody who
0?
0. All your emails go away. Everything goes away. It's like you got Men in Blacked. Like, everything is gone, and you have to start again. And that was just the transition was just such a like, an
Wow.
amazing thing. And so then we're waiting to see who comes in. And the person we thought was gonna be our boss ended up going to NATO or something like that, and so this other very nice gentleman comes in. He's like, "Hi, I'm Gary." Like, you go like, I'm like, "Oh, hi. Here's who I am, and here's what I do, right? Here's what I've done in this administration." And they ended up, like, expanding the size of the office, but President Obama was interested in our subject. Because when he was a senator, he went and he did some of the Nunn-Lugar trips, and he went to this to Georgia, Soviet Georgia, and he learned about kind of the nuclear threat, and he was very impacted by that. And so one of his first major policy speeches in April, when after he got elected so anyway, they kept me on. His first major policy speeches was about nuclear, and it was in Prague, and they were talking about the new START agreement, and they were talking about Iran and North Korea, and they were talking about civil nuclear energy, which is what I did, and nuclear terrorism, which was also in my portfolio. And so, we only saw bits and pieces of the speeches as it was being written. And a couple of them, like they said, well, the president's going to pledge to get rid of all unsecured nuclear material. And I was like, you can't say that because that's not going to happen, right? We don't know where it all is, and we certainly can't do it. So I was like, okay, well, here's how we can tweak it. So they tweaked it, and I'm sitting at home on a Sunday, and I turn on the TV because I wanted to see the speech. So I hear Obama giving the speech. He talks about Iran and North Korea and START treaty and this and that, and he gets this last paragraph, and he's like, and within a year, I'm going to have a head of the state summit where we're going to talk about nuclear security. And we're going to start a 4-year effort to secure all vulnerable nuclear, so that's my language, all vulnerable nuclear materials. So I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then I realized, "Oh, a summit in less than a year. Oh, that's gonna be me. I'm gonna have to do that." So I get in there Monday,
Whoops.
and Gary's like, "Hey, Joyce, did you see this president's speech?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, get me something about, like, how we're gonna do this summit." So I was like, Google, like, throw a summit. I don't know what I'm doing. And within a year, we were able to throw, a summit of 47 heads of state and international organizations in DC. It was the largest, gathering of heads of state since, like, when San Francisco, when they put the United Nations together. And,
Wow.
like, Medvedev was there, and, presidents of, South Africa, and, like, everybody was there. President of France, Macron was there, like, it wasn't Macron at the time, but, Nicolai, Sarkozy was and so they all came to Washington, and for 2 days, they talked about the issue of nuclear security, and we had to write the briefing books and prepare the documents and get the agreement put together and get a work plan put together, and it was crazy, crazy intense, but, like, a once in a lifetime activity.
Yeah, that's amazing. The thing, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, the thing with Obama, he spoke so well. He was such a great speaker. For you to know that he's reading your stuff. That must have been awesome for you. I mean, I can't
And
imagine.
terrified. So I had written briefing
Sure.
books for, like cabinet secretaries, like, for people who, in my line of work, I've written briefing books, and we would send them up, and they'd come back marked up, like, do and then come back down, and you fix it, and you send it back up, and it's usually an iteration that happens 3 or 4 times. So, I did the briefing book for this. Me. Like, I got input from other agents, but I wrote it, I put it together, I organized it, and I sent it up, and I kept waiting. Like, who was the national security advisor at the time? I think it was Tom Donilon and Dennis McDonough, and I kept pinging them like, "Hey," they go, "Has the president read the briefing book? Has the president read the briefing book?" And they're like, "It's fine. He's gonna read it when he goes to Prague or goes to sign the START agreement." And then I'm like, "But that's only, like, 12 hours before the summit. Like, how am I gonna know what to fix?" And and amazingly, like, the man is a machine. He memorized the briefing book, never asked for any edits, like, and I saw him deploy it. But another funny story is I was also in charge of the invitation. So at first we were like, okay, there's like 20 countries that we would want. So they're like, okay, well, propose the countries, right? And I had to write the invitations. So I wanted to write like, dear blank, da 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 da, love president, right? Like just very all cookie cutter. But all the regional
Sure.
offices wanted to put in like very specific things for each of the countries we're sending. So there were like 27 different letters. So we were trying to figure out when to have this, and I had, like, the Jewish calendar, the Christian calendar, the, Zoroastrian calendar, and I'm trying to make sure, like, I'm not gonna schedule this at some bad time, and it was supposed to be within a year, so I picked the date in March. This is all going through there's a very elaborate process, as you can imagine. An executive secretary that does these things, so I write all the letters in triplicate, get everything done, have it scheduled for March, send it forward, and then we're taking the kids for the first time ever to Disney World in Florida. We fly down there with the kids. I'm standing in line for something, because everything's aligned down there. Standing in line, dripping
Yeah,
sweat
right.
in August, right? My phone rings, and I was like, "Hi." And it's my work phone because I had it with me, and a BlackBerry at the time, and they're like, "Hey, this is, the president." Yeah. This is the president's, scheduler. This is, Alyssa Mastromonaco. She's like, "Can I just ask, where did you get the dates for the summit?" And I was like,
Oh.
"I cleared them with everybody. I like, the national security, like, everybody signed off on this." And she goes, "Yeah, well, see, there's a little bit of a problem. That's Sasha Malia's spring break, and they're gonna be in Hawaii." I was like, What?" She's like, "Yeah, but okay, well, I'll be back on Monday, and we will deal with this then." And so we ended up having to move the dates, because I didn't check the school calendar for Sidwell Friends to know that that's Sasha Mali's spring break.
Why would you?
And yeah, and so then I had to write all of those letters, and by now we're up to 40 countries because everybody at that point in time, the entire world wanted to be in the presence of Obama. We couldn't get the Prime Minister of England because they were in, Purdah or whatever it's called. Like, they had an election coming up, and so there's a certain amount of days before an election that they can't send their, head of state, so they sent, like, their, Secretary of State. And then I think the Israelis kinda panicked at the last minute and sent their Secretary of State as well. But we had a it was a lot of heads of state, for a 2-day summit here in Washington, and
Sheesh, that's crazy.
yeah. And they were talking about a lot of the ambassadors were terrified because 'cause they're like, "We don't wanna have to brief our president about nuclear security." Like, it is such a like, nerdy thing. Like, we usually leave that to the diplomats. Like, why do you want the heads of state to do this? I said, "The president really feels that the heads of state should be aware of the dangers and issues having to do with nuclear terrorism." And so they're like, "Okay."
If you say so.
But it's cool because a lot of those people because that was 2009, and a lot of the or 2010 was the summit, and a lot of those people who from other countries who were in that space are now they now occupy high levels within their government. The people that I like my counterparts, because there was, like, 2 layers above me as well, they're all like, the head of the IAEA right now, Rafael Grossi, was on the Argentinian team for the nuclear security summit. So he knows us because for a year we were going back and forth with him for language for his president to attend that summit. Just kinda cool.
Sheesh,
We established,
that
like, this
is
very
cool.
tight-knit group of people who worked on these summits, that then we could call upon later on when we had concerns or issues, right? That's the beauty of international connectivity at that level, is that you establish the relationships and then some bad thing happens and you can communicate with them. It's why isolationism isn't a good idea in my view because of that. You wanna be able to know who to pick up the phone and call and have a relationship with that person when shit goes down.
Yeah. It's did you have all these group chats? Your
No,
counter-terrorist group chats,
no,
your
but it's weird that we
Moroccan group chat?
we had, so they there exists on the high side, like, group chats within the United States, but, like, I did this all on class email. It was all government email, right? But, I would send out, like, a document to all of the countries and like, all of my counterparts in the countries and say, Here's what I'm thinking of for, a work plan that we can all agree on." And so they would get a copy of it, and then they would mark it up and send it back to me. And I wouldn't tell anybody whose comments were whose, and then I'd keep a master document, put all the comments in, and then send them back out again, and then that's how we resolved all the comments. And they never knew, like, so you wouldn't get a situation where, like, Pakistan wasn't gonna agree to a comment because India wrote it, right? They were sending them in separately, and then I was putting them in together, and it was interesting to see how the countries kind of aligned because India and Pakistan often had similar comments because they come from a similar viewpoint of how to do international relations and legalese. So without like, we kinda stripped all that away, it was anonymous, and then I would just keep sending it out and sending it out until all the red lines got down, and then when there was, like, a red line issue we couldn't resolve, we would bump it up to a higher level and say, "Okay, can you figure out how to get to a resolution on this one issue?"
Well, that's smart. There was no bias towards someone's comment.
Right,
If I don't like Joyce Connery and she says this, I'm like, "No, I wanna do this."
right, right.
Can't do that if I don't know who it is.
Yeah, and it actually one of the diplomats, I can't remember which country he was from, one of the South American diplomats said, "It's you're not a diplomat." And I was like, "No, I'm a civil servant." But he said, "Well, it's amazing what you guys were able to accomplish." I said, "That's because we didn't know we weren't supposed to be able to,
Oh, that's funny.
because we just did it in kind of naive a naive kind of way,
But effective.
but effective, right?" And it didn't have all, again, like you said, like, it doesn't have all the baggage of, "Well, if so and so said that." It's interesting, like, if you look on the internet, I think half of our reactions, we're not reacting to what's said, we're reacting to who said it.
Probably, yeah, you know what? You're right. That's a good argument because it's human nature.
Mhm.
You're already biased as to what someone's saying.
Right, and you have an opinion about them, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah,
I'm inclined to listen to you, but that's why having these good connections are good because you're gonna take people if you know them, right, you're going to listen to what they say and hopefully won't have negative connotations kind of on it already,
that's the goal
right?
anyways,
Just because 'cause they're wearing a
but
Boston
it's
hat,
hard.
like, I'm not gonna make a presumption about you because 'cause you're wearing a Boston hat.
But you could. It'd probably be true. No, it's good.
Let's order a regular from Dunkies. That's my
From Dunky, the regular, reg 2 shugs, extra, extra. That's what people extra, extra.
I had to
Yeah,
explain to
extra cream.
folks that regular does not mean black coffee.
No, it's cream,
Yeah.
sugar.
Like, and they're like, "Oh, I thought regular just meant
Extra,
black."
extra, it's regular with extra, extra. It's funny.
How come
But yeah,
we made that up to 2.5 hours?
I was just gonna say to you, I was gonna make a joke about, you told me you were chatty, but I only asked for a minute and a half. You gave me
I
39
know,
minutes.
but I felt like I
No, it's fun. No, it's good, it's good. Hey, look, you were having fun. You should have seen I know you can't see your face, but if you watch this, you're gonna see you were very passionate about what you were saying, and that's the best thing you could bring to this to a podcast, especially if you're I mean, it comes across as on voice too, but to see how I wasn't that's why I basically sat here and listened. I wasn't watching TV. I was, like, just enjoying even though I don't know much about what you were talking about, it was interesting to see how passionate you were, and it did make sense to me, but I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the way you do, so I don't mean like that stuff when you were trying to say, "Oh, I don't know if it was this person," I'm like, "I don't know either one of them, so it doesn't matter. Just keep going." And, but you were so passionate. It was great to sit there and watch that. It coulda went on for another 30 minutes. I wouldn't have cared. It was great. It was,
I feel
um
very, very lucky to have had, the opportunity to serve the way I did. Very lucky.
no, I think that we're the lucky ones, to be honest. So, win-win, and who doesn't love a win-win?
Product of Stoneham High.
That's right, that's right. One yeah, no, that's you've done a lot more than I ever thought anybody would, not let alone not just you, but, um, that's crazy. Have you ever thought of I don't know if you could, have you ever thought of writing a book?
I have, I have thought about that, and I think I could do and get not get in trouble with with anybody. I'd have to have it cleared by people, but,
Yeah, there'd be obstacles, but you could
yeah.
is that something you're interested in doing?
I thought about it. I haven't done, haven't done any of the work to it. Oops, sorry, my cat's meowing underneath me. Um, but maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I would read it,
Okay.
and I only read comic books, so that's
And
a
Mario
compliment to you.
Puzo.
What's that? Yeah, Mario Puzo, right, exactly. Exactly, dude, you busted me. Um, there's only one author that I've read everything they've written.
Who's that?
You'll never guess. Jackie Collins.
Really?
Swear to God, I've read every Jackie Collins book.
Oh, that is fascinating.
I've read a lot of other people's books, so I've read a few Puzos, but not everything. There's a bunch of authors I read, but she's the only one I've read everything that she's written.
Oh, wow. Uh,
You gotta go?
yeah, I just got a phone call. I have to call back,
No,
so
that's fine, that's fine,
apologize.
that's fine. No, it's funny because you mentioned about, possibly pausing to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, "You gotta be going to the you gotta have to go to the bathroom by now. It's been almost 3
I
hours.
know,
You were ready to
and I
go,
had my coffee and everything.
you've been drinking coffee too." Joyce, thank you so much. Just hang on for 2 seconds after I stop this, though. Thank you so much. Anything else you wanna say? I just wanna thank you anyways. Just thank you very
Thanks for
much.
having me. It's great.